Chapter 2754. The experts from the three forces were all from powerful forces, and they were wary of each other. No one took the initiative to attack Su Fang, and the situation was in a stalemate. At this moment, Su Fang suddenly smiled and said aloud, "Since the three of you can't agree, why don't we have a competition? I will naturally follow whoever is stronger. At that time, I will not resist, and all the treasures on me will naturally belong to whoever is stronger." "This kid is really cunning," Taoist sect leader snorted. Executioner Granny and the expert from the Chamber of Commerce remained indifferent. They were all cunning and could see that Su Fang was trying to sow discord. Naturally, they would not be fooled easily. However, no one wanted to take the initiative to attack and give the others a chance to take advantage of them. They are not fooled? Seeing that the experts from the three forces were not fooled, Su Fang could not help but feel disappointed. Then, he said, "Since the three of you are so free, then stay here. I, Su Fang, will not accompany you. Goodbye." As he spoke, he merged his celestial body with his physical body. His body suddenly burned and turned into a fiery state. He performed the burning light escape skill and was about to escape. "Puny little Tao True Realm Ant, if I let you slip away again, where would I put my face?" Zhu Xian hated Su Fang to the core. She immediately released a thought and merged it into the surrounding void. In an instant, the surrounding space seemed to be frozen. Zhu Xian's will, Taoist rhymes, and dermic powers controlled the space and confined the surrounding space. Although Su Fang's burning light escape skill was extraordinary, it was completely useless in front of a peerless expert who had surpassed the Tao Master. He was firmly sealed in place and could not escape. Su Fang showed no sign of fear. He raised his eyebrows and scolded Executioner Grandma, "You old freak, one day I, Su Fang, will catch you and tear your tendons apart. Kid, you are about to die and you still dare to be so arrogant." Zhu Xian was completely enraged. QL11 whoosh. Whoosh. Executioner Granny released hundreds of thoughts at once, attacking the Taoist sect master, the experts of the Chamber of Commerce, and Su Fang. The three highest mysterious sects' divine abilities were shocking. Zhu Xian Popo's thoughts released the power of space, twisting and folding the layers of space. Initially, the Taoist sect master and the Chamber of Commerce's experts were not far from the Su Fang. Under the power of space, they were separated by endless space. "Brat, see how I'll deal with you." Grandmother Executioner wore a hideous grin as the will she directed at Su Fang transformed into a palm seal with a destructive aura and a will capable of suppressing his Tao heart and soul, suppressing Su Fang's figure. Zhu Xian Popo was infuriated by Su Fang. Her attacks became extremely ruthless. Not only did she want to capture Su Fang, she also wanted to make Su Fang suffer greatly. Su Fang did not move. Her eyes were filled with mockery and disdain as she looked at Heartbreaker. Could it be that this brat is up to something again? Grandmother Executioner's heart skipped a beat. She had a bad feeling about this. However, he quickly tossed it to the back of his mind. He was just a Tao True cultivator. Although he had the 6 extreme Tao Saint Dharma body and was a threat to her, Su Fang was already a fish in the net. At most, he would have to struggle for a while. What could he do? Boom! As Grandmother Executioner's thoughts moved, the palm seal formed by her will arrived above Su Fang's head and slammed down on Su Fang. This will attack was far beyond the limit of a Tao Master. Even if it did not kill Su Fang, it would at least severely injure him. Just as the palm seal's power engulfed Su Fang and was about to suppress him, suddenly, a divine power swept out from the void. It crushed Grandmother Executioner's will like a gust of wind, and she disappeared without a trace in an instant. That's the power of the heavenly laws? At the same time, Grandmother Executioner sensed that great danger was approaching. Her divine light changed instantly. Boom! A bolt of lightning flashed out from the void and landed on Grandmother Executioner's body. Even with Grandmother Executioner's strength, she could not resist the thunder. She could not dodge it or use any divine power. Even her Tao heart and will were trembling under the power of the thunder. Even someone as powerful as Grandmother Executioner was as tiny as an ant in the face of this thunder. Crack! The thunder landed on Grandmother Executioner's body and broke her defense. Her physical body was severely injured. Her Tao heart was also attacked by the supreme will contained in the thunder. There was a cracking sound. Although it was not broken, cracks were all over her body. Grandmother Executioner spat out a mouthful of blood. Her aura became weak instantly. Although she did not die, she was severely injured. Jiuxuan's heavenly laws. It's the Jiuxuan's heavenly laws. Grandmother Executioner was terrified and shouted, Jiuxuan's heavenly laws! That brat is a peerless genius on the heavenly profound ranking? The Taoist sect master and the experts of the Chamber of Commerce were shocked and looked at Su Fang in disbelief. It's a pity that I didn't kill the expert from the three supreme mysterious sects. But it's good. Sooner or later, I'll take it all back with interest. Su Fang's ranking on the heavenly profound ranking was not high. Grandmother Executioner had violated the Jiuxuan's heavenly laws. She was only punished but not killed. Impossible. How can you be on the heavenly profound ranking? Grandmother Executioner could not accept this reality. She had waited here for thousands of years. She thought that Su Fang was a cooked duck and would not fly away. Who knew? The cooked duck suddenly turned into a hedgehog. Not only did she fail to catch him, she even pricked her hand until it was dripping with blood. What shocked Grandmother Executioner more was that Su Fang, a cultivator from a low-level universe, was able to be on the heavenly profound ranking. She could not accept that he did it after entering the Blood Valley. Grandmother Executioner stared at Su Fang and gritted her teeth. Damn brat! How dare you trick me? The Taoist sect master and the experts of the Chamber of Commerce looked at Su Fang with fear. Fortunately, it was Grandmother Executioner who made the first move. If it were them, they would be in trouble too. Too sneaky. Too despicable. This is just a small punishment for you. Su Fang smiled coldly. Then, he mocked Grandmother Executioner. Are you disappointed? I have to thank you. If you didn't force me to escape to the Blood Valley, how could I win 100 battles in the second Slaughter Star City, be listed on the heavenly profound ranking, and be protected by the Jiuxuan's heavenly laws? Won 100 battles in a row in the second Slaughter Star City? Su Fang's words shocked Grandmother Executioner, the Taoist sect master, and the experts of the Chamber of Commerce. These experts naturally knew the rules of the Blood Valley very well. They also knew how difficult it was to obtain 100 victories on the blood slaughter stage in the second Killing Star City. At the same time, it also proved Su Fang's talent and strength were heaven-defying. Young Master Su Fang, there was a misunderstanding between the Chamber of Commerce and you. We will make amends in the future. I will take my leave now. The expert of the Chamber of Commerce thought for a while and made a decisive decision. He cupped his fists at Su Fang and left quickly. Which expert of the Chamber of Commerce was not very smart? What kind of heaven-defying peerless genius could win 100 battles in a row in the second Slaughter Star City? The Chamber of Commerce would not offend such a genius for treasures. Moreover, Su Fang was protected by the Jiuxuan's heavenly laws. They could not do anything to him. If the Chamber of Commerce did not resolve the grudge before Su Fang rose to power in the future, it would not be a good thing for the Chamber of Commerce. Grandmother Executioner looked at Su Fang with resentment. She could not take this lying down. Not to mention that her efforts were in vain, she was also seriously injured. How could she, an expert of the three supreme mysterious sects, take this lying down? However, what could she do if she did not leave? She was protected by the Jiuxuan's heavenly laws. Experts who surpassed the Taoist sect master would be punished by the Jiuxuan's heavenly laws if they attacked her. Grandmother Executioner had attacked Su Fang just now, but she was tricked by Su Fang and suffered such a big loss. Even if she stayed, she could only watch Su Fang. What else could she do to Su Fang? Grandmother Executioner was in a dilemma. She could not help but spit out another mouthful of blood. When Su Fang saw this, he was very unhappy. You chased me from the periphery of the 6 extreme Tao Saint Divine Tomb to the heaven-forsaken desolate region. You did not expect this day to come, right? Suddenly the Taoist sect master suddenly said domineeringly, Su Fang, I'm the Taoist sect master. You killed my beloved son. How can I let you live? You're in my territory now. I can't let you leave no matter what. Su Fang sneered. Taoist sect master? Do you dare to look down on the Jiuxuan's heavenly laws and want to attack me? Even Lord Dongxian Daozu does not dare to look down on the Jiuxuan's heavenly laws, let alone me. The Taoist sect master said embarrassedly. Then, he smiled proudly. However, the Jiuxuan's heavenly laws restrict experts who surpassed the Taoist sect master from attacking you. However, experts below the Taoist sect master are not restricted. You're in my territory. Why do I have to attack you personally? As soon as he finished speaking, swoosh, 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 swoosh. How could I have forgotten about that? Su Fang, even though I can't obtain you, a mere Taoist sect ant like you will be unable to escape the fate of being suppressed when facing so many experts of the Taoist sect. I can finally vent my anger by watching you die at the hands of the Taoist sect. TSK. TSK. Su Fang's brows raised as he sneered with disdain. I'm afraid I'll disappoint you again, swoosh. The 2 experts of the Taoist sect were intermediate Taoist sect experts. For the sake of showing off before the Taoist sect's master, they fought to be the first to charge out from the numerous cultivators of the Taoist sect and arrived 300 m away from Su Fang. Both of them released their thoughts at practically the same time with the intention of suppressing Su Fang. Bang! A strand of slaughter aura surged into the sky. It instantly caused the space in an area of 5,000 kilometers to be dyed blood red, and it fell into an expanse of slaughter aura. It turned out that Su Fang had directly merged the blood demon avatar with his body, and the 2 star of slaughter diagrams emanated an aura of slaughter at the same time. Originally, the blood demon avatar of a 2-star god slaughter general was unable to pose a threat to an intermediate Taoist sect expert after leaving the blood gorge. However, Su Fang's blood demon avatar was extraordinary. Especially the 1st star of slaughter diagram on the blood-red armor, it possessed 81 slaughter marks, so how shocking was the aura of slaughter it emanated. Chapter 2755. Kill! Su Fang, who'd fused with his body, was like a god of death, and he'd become ferocious, violent, and filled with monstrous killing intent. After he shouted coldly and fiercely, the slaughter mark on Su Fang's blood-red armor floated up into appearance, and it emanated strands of the aura of slaughter that swiftly condensed into numerous strands of sword chi. After that, they formed a sword formation that swept towards the experts of the Taoist sect. Those 2 intermediate Taoist realm experts that were charging at the front were terrified by the aura of slaughter that erupted abruptly from Su Fang, and they were in a state where their Tao hearts were shaken. Under the impact of the sword formation, even though its might was able to break through the defenses of their bodies, the slaughter intent contained within the sword formation directly shattered their Tao hearts, and even their quintessence souls were annihilated by the slaughter intent. Su Fang's blood-fiend body was so formidable. Everywhere the sword formation swept out, it was like the autumn wind sweeping away fallen leaves, and over 10 experts of the Taoist sect had their Tao hearts and souls shattered, causing them to perish on the spot. There were over 100 cultivators behind them that were affected as well. All of them were trembling while their Tao hearts were shaken, and their quintessence souls were on the verge of shattering. They were terrified to the point of turning around and flying towards the treasured vessel. How could they have the courage to face Su Fang? Su Fang swept out with a strand of divine might that sucked all the corpses that floated in midair into the space within his body, and then he looked at the Taoist sect's master and sneered. How many more subordinates do you have? Why don't you release all of them? Heartbreaker's expression changed instantly. This kid is actually formidable to such an extent. How could an ant at the true Tao realm possibly cultivate such a formidable bloodfiend body? The Taoist sect's master was shocked and extremely furious, and he roared like a thunderclap. You actually dared to kill the experts of my Taoist sect in such an unbridled manner right before my eyes. I swear that I'll definitely tear you into pieces. Do you dare to make a move against me? Su Fang scoffed with disdain and laughed coldly. After that, he said in a domineering manner, if the Taoist sect and your 3 sovereign mysterious sects want to deal with me, then feel free to send your forces over. I, Su Fang, guarantee that I'll kill every single one of them without mercy. The Taoist sect master was so angry that his entire body was trembling. His golden robe and golden crown were flashing with his Xian Guang. However, if he were to truly make a move against Su Fang, he would never have the courage to violate the laws of Jiuquan. Farewell, both of you. Under the gazes of 2 peerless experts that had surpassed the Taolord realm, Su Fang left embarrassedly, and he was extremely composed and carefree. This is infuriating. The Taoist sect leader raised his head to the sky and let out an earth-shattering roar. His voice caused ripples to appear in the void, and then layer by layer collapse. The masters of the Taoist sect on the ship felt their eardrums shatter. Some of the weaker cultivators had their Tao hearts shattered and fainted on the spot. When the voice died down, Grandma Zhu Xian's gloomy voice came, Taoist sect leader, don't forget that the Taoist sect is the most powerful force in the heaven-forsaken wilderness. Can't you think of a way to deal with a mere Tao Jin realm cultivator? The Taoist sect leader snorted. Experts that have surpassed the Taolord realm can't make a move against Su Fang. Even the Taolord experts are no match for him. How can I deal with him? Heartbreaker smiled and said, Taoist sect master, this is the heaven-forsaken wilderness. As long as you reveal the fact that Su Fang has a great treasure, countless cultivators from the heaven-forsaken wilderness will rush to him. No matter how strong he is, can he stop thousands of bandits? The Taoist sect leader's eyes lit up, and his anger was quickly extinguished. Su Fang took out the fiery cloud-flying carriage and sped along. After about 3 years, they found a 1,000-mile-long material ruin in the void. It's here. Su Fang was about to level up, and he could no longer suppress the disaster chi in his body. This ruin was just right for him to level up. Just as he landed on the ruin, hundreds of cultivators flew out from the depths of the ruin. Each of them looked ferocious. They were a group of bandits. Bandits could be seen everywhere in the heaven-forsaken wilderness. Su Fang did not find it strange to encounter so many bandits here. This place belongs to me. All of you, get out of my way. Su Fang released his blood evil chi, and it shrouded the entire ruin. Those bandits who came aggressively were scared out of their wits, and they fled the ruin in a hurry. Su Fang landed on a ridge above the ruin, and then he let Master Zhua out. Quickly help me create a formation to protect the entire ruin. Although Master Zhua was not dead set on Su Fang, he had to work hard to get the opportunity to use Su Fang's Luo Tian wheel to cultivate the way of formation. Master Zhua's formation skills were indeed extraordinary. Coupled with the cooperation of Su Fang's essence soul avatar, they created layers of formations in 10 days, and the entire ruin was tightly protected. Qin Heng, Wu Meng, Xian Tiancheng, protect me. Then, Su Fang released the 3 Taolords under his command. Su Fang had subdued more than 10 Taolords in Blood Valley's second Star Killer city. Su Fang handed all of them over to the 3 Taolords he trusted. This was the heaven-forsaken wilderness, and Su Fang had to be careful. He asked the 3 Taolords to protect him when he was leveling up, and added layers of formations to ensure that nothing went wrong. Once everything was ready, Su Fang had just sat down cross-legged in the formation when a shocking disaster chi spurted out from his body. His aura was indeed shocking. It did not seem like a Tao True Realm cultivator's leveling up, but a Tao Lord who had surpassed a great step, or even stronger. Even Qin Heng and the other Tao Lords were shocked when they sensed the terrifying aura of Su Fang's breakthrough. Suddenly boom, boom, QL-11 Earth. Shattering sounds came from the ruins at the periphery of the material world, and the array formation trembled violently. Someone was attacking the formation. Su Fang's eyebrows raised like swords. He sensed that there were hundreds of cultivators outside the ruins, and they were using their divine abilities and Xian Bao to attack the formation crazily. These cultivators were all wearing wolf masks, and they were obviously from the same force. Why are there bandits here so soon? Su Fang could not help but be surprised. Whoosh, a large black ship with a black sail that was 1,000 feet tall flew over from the void with the momentum of breaking the wind and breaking the waves. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Nearly 500 black-clothed cultivators flew out from the large black ship and headed straight for the material ruins where Su Fang was. They were obviously experts from another force. There were also many bandits in groups of 3 to 5, and some were alone. They rushed over like ducks. Su Fang immediately understood. There are so many bandits. It must be that Taoist sect master. He doesn't dare to attack me personally, so he instigated these bandits to attack me. Despicable. Qin Heng transmitted his thoughts. Master, let me kill my way out and beat these bandits to a pulp. Su Fang rejected decisively. No need. They can't break the formation in a short time. Let them slowly attack the formation first. Then, Su Fang ignored the bandits and started to form seals. His body erupted with a shocking aura. Qi. His aura surged into the void of the heaven-forsaken desolation region and disappeared without a trace. Not long after, vast dark clouds appeared in the void. There are a total of 9 heavenly tribulations when one becomes a Tao Lord. It's extremely dangerous for ordinary cultivators, but it's nothing to me. Su Fang revealed a domineering smile. When cultivators transcended the Tao Lord tribulation, they touched the true essence of the heavenly Tao and caused the great Tao contained in the chaos to resonate with the cultivator. The heavenly tribulation would descend and cleanse the cultivator's marrow. In addition to cleansing the body, the Tao Lord tribulation also cleansed the cultivator's Tao heart, will, and soul. It condensed thoughts so that the cultivator could use dharmic powers and Taoist rhythms to perform thought attack. Although Su Fang had an extraordinary Dharma body now, he couldn't perform any thought attacks except for the true eyes of destruction. If he could condense his thoughts to perform an attack, he could perform a supreme divine ability with a single thought. How powerful would he be then? Su Fang released his aura and waited for a dozen breaths. In the sky above the material ruins, tribulation clouds began to surge and gather in the center. The bandits who were attacking the formation crazily stopped. Someone is transcending the tribulation? It's Su Fang. He's really transcending the tribulation in the ruins formation. These bandits were very clear about Su Fang's background. They knew that Su Fang was in a state of tribulation transcendence. Boss, should we hide for a while? If we're affected by the tribulation, we'll be in big trouble. A bandit wearing a wolf mask asked the leading green-robed cultivator. The green-robed cultivator sneered disdainfully. How powerful can the tribulation be when a Tao true cultivator becomes a Tao Lord? One of the bandits laughed out loud and said, even if that brat is a powerful genius, he can only attract a tribulation cloud that covers an area of 30 miles at most. These ruins are thousands of miles wide, and we are at the periphery of the ruins. How can it affect us? The green-robed cultivator nodded. That's right. I heard that kid took advantage of the city lord's accidental death in Blood Valley's second Starkiller city to steal everything from the city lord's treasury. I don't know how many treasures he took. Right now, he's at a critical moment in his tribulation. He can't escape even if he wants to. We can suppress him and take all the treasures he stole. The news has spread to all the major forces around Dallas City. The Black Sail Gang is already here, and I don't know how many experts are rushing here. If we're late, we won't even get a bite of the soup. Kill our way in and kill that kid. The bandits wearing wolf masks didn't retreat. Instead, they attacked the formation even more crazily. The bandits who came out of the black treasure ship were hesitant at first, but when they saw the actions of the bandits with wolf masks, they didn't want to fall behind and attacked the formation even more crazily from different directions. The tribulation clouds in the sky gradually formed, tearing open the void and beginning to roar and thunder. The tribulation had been brewing for more than 6 hours. When the tribulation clouds completely formed and the terrifying tribulation aura enveloped the void below, the bandits realized that their previous judgment was ridiculously wrong. Chapter 2756. Could it be an expert at the peak of the upper-level Tao Lord realm who is ascending to the Tao Lord realm? An ordinary Tao Lord's ascension wouldn't attract such a shocking tribulation cloud. Only those powerful Tao Lords would be able to do so. The aura of the heavenly tribulation is clearly that of a Tao Lord. How could it be a Tao Lord's heavenly tribulation? Who has ever seen a Tao Lord's heavenly tribulation so shocking? Everyone was shocked and exclaimed. They were trembling in the aura of the heavenly tribulation. How could they still care about attacking the formation? They all fled in panic. However, their speed was limited in the aura of the heavenly tribulation. They could barely fly. It was very difficult for them to escape the area enveloped by the aura of the heavenly tribulation. Even the 3 Tao Lords, Qin Heng, Wu Meng, and Xian Tiancheng, who were in the formation, were deeply shocked. Only now did they realize how extraordinary their master was. The heavenly tribulation was formed by the resonance of a cultivator's aura. From the scale and power of the heavenly tribulation, one could judge a cultivator's cultivation talent and future achievements. Su Fang's Tao Lord heavenly tribulation was 100 times stronger than ordinary cultivators. It even surpassed ordinary Tao Lord heavenly tribulations. It was enough to show how shocking his future achievements were. How could such a shocking heavenly tribulation not shock anyone? Chi. The first heavenly tribulation descended. Su Fang sensed that the aura of the heavenly tribulation was more than 10 times stronger than when he ascended to the Tao True realm. However, no matter how strong it was only at the level of a Tao Lord. Although Su Fang was a Tao True realm cultivator, he had already surpassed the Tao Lord realm. Why would he care about the Tao Lord heavenly tribulation? Whoosh! QL11 Su Fang didn't want to destroy the formation on the material ruins. Thus, he soared into the sky from the formation. At this moment, the first heavenly tribulation attacked him rapidly. Su Fang executed the origin returning 6 unity sword art and casually grabbed out streaks of sword chi. They turned into surging sword chi that rose into the sky and collided with the first heavenly tribulation. Boom! 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 After a series of collisions, the first heavenly tribulation quickly shattered and turned into tribulation fire fragments that flew in all directions. The second heavenly tribulation came one after another, and its attacks were even more ferocious and domineering. Su Fang's eyes flashed with ruthlessness when he saw the fleeing bandits. He didn't attack the second tribulation. Instead, he activated his Flaming Steps treasured boot. Borrowing the powerful force of the boots, he flashed into the midst of the bandits wearing wolf masks. The heavenly tribulation seemed to have a mind of its own. It followed the Su Fang and swept over in an instant. Boom! Boom! The tribulation fire formed by the power of the heavenly tribulation swept through the area. Hundreds of bandits were burned by the tribulation fire until they wailed like ghosts and howled like wolves, covering their heads and fleeing like rats. As for Su Fang, not even a single strand of his hair was touched by the heavenly tribulation. Many bandits helped Su Fang share the power of the heavenly tribulation, which angered the will of the heavenly tribulation. The heavenly tribulation clouds rolled violently, and terrifying heavenly thunder rumbled. It was as if the end of the world had arrived. Crack! After brewing for a while, a bolt of thunder carrying a destructive divine might shot out from the tribulation clouds like a wild dragon. Such a heavenly tribulation was far more powerful than a Tao Lord's heavenly tribulation. Su Fang sneered and activated his flaming steps treasured boots, charging straight for the black ship. Damned bastard! The bandits on the black ship, who were fleeing towards it, were scared out of their wit. They frantically fled into the distance. The lightning instantly engulfed Su Fang, the surrounding bandits, and the black ship. Rumble! Thunderous rumbles resounded in the sky. The black treasure ship's defense was shattered, and the black sail was riddled with holes. However, this Xian Bao was truly extraordinary. It hadn't been destroyed by the heavenly tribulation. However, the surrounding bandits were in for a bad time. All of them were blasted open by the heavenly tribulation. Their Tao hearts and wills were also attacked by the supreme will of the heavenly tribulation. Cracks appeared and they were on the verge of shattering. The bandits below the Tao Lord level were directly killed by the heavenly tribulation. Despicable! This brat is too despicable. Let's join forces and kill him. Let's see how arrogant he can be. Oh no, the heavenly tribulation is coming again. The bandits were fuming with anger and prepared to join forces to deal with Su Fang. Unexpectedly, the third wave of the heavenly tribulation descended. It looked even more domineering and terrifying than the second wave. Even an upper-level Tao Lord cultivator would lose a layer of skin if they survived such a heavenly tribulation. Run! The bandits no longer dared to attack Su Fang. They used all kinds of methods and used all their strength to hurriedly flee into the distance. In the face of the powerful third wave of the heavenly tribulation, although it wasn't much of a threat to Su Fang didn't dare to be too careless. He gave up on the bandits and used the origin harmonization sword art to form a sword formation. He shattered the third wave of the heavenly tribulation into countless fragments of tribulation fire. The stronger bandits finally rushed out of the area enveloped by the aura of the heavenly tribulation. They all felt as if they had just survived a disaster. Despicable brat, you better not die in the heavenly tribulation. I'll pull out your tendons and skin you alive. It's best if I strip off his soul and refine it properly. No matter if it was the bandits in wolf masks, the bandits on the black ships, or the scattered bandits, all of them gnashed their teeth at Su Fang. The fourth wave, the fifth wave. Wave after wave of heavenly tribulation descended. With Su Fang's current strength, he didn't even take upper-level Tao Lords seriously. No matter how domineering the heavenly tribulation of a Tao Lord was, it was still limited to the Tao Lord realm. So, it was naturally unable to pose any threat to Su Fang. As for the terrifying intent of the heavenly tribulation that specialized in suppressing and attacking a cultivator's Tao heart, it was even more difficult to shake Su Fang's Tao heart in the slightest. Under the attentive gazes of countless people, Su Fang casually executed his divine ability to shatter the waves of heavenly tribulation. Such an imposing aura didn't seem like a Tao truth cultivator overcoming a tribulation at all. It was clearly a Tao Lord dealing with the heavenly tribulation of a Tao Lord. It was too easy. Such a casual attitude caused the three Tao Lords under Su Fang and the numerous powerful experts who were watching from afar to fall into intense shock. They couldn't believe that such a terrifying cultivator actually existed. Some bandits started to think of retreating. No matter how good the treasures were, they had to be alive to obtain them. How could they know that the strength Su Fang displayed at this moment wasn't his true strength at all? A heavenly tribulation of such a scale wasn't enough for him to go all out. Under Su Fang's formidable strength, the heavenly tribulation shattered layer by layer. Boom, boom, The most powerful ninth wave of heavenly tribulation descended from the sky. It's time to end this. Su Fang executed an expanse of sword chi with his profound yang dharma body, and it transformed into a flaming sword formation that charged towards the heavenly tribulation. The ninth wave of heavenly tribulation was quickly shattered by the sword formation, and the sword formation was constantly shattering under the might of the heavenly tribulation. The heavenly tribulation and the sword formation were in a stalemate for more than 10 breaths of time before the ninth wave of heavenly tribulation finally exhausted its might and vanished without a trace. Su Fang's gaze swept past the bandits in the distance, and he smiled disdainfully. After that, he passed through the formation and descended onto the physical ruins. Whoosh! Su Fang had just sat down cross-legged when a wave of baptism power descended and enveloped him. At the same time, Su Fang's physical body burned with tribulation fire, and his body began to frantically advance. Countless forces pushed him to advance from the Tao reality realm to a higher realm. The impact of the advancement force was astonishing. Su Fang's physical body, Tao Palace, and even his Dharma bodies shattered layer by layer under the impact force. The entire process was extremely painful, as if they were being shattered and then rebuilt. However, with the help of the baptism power, everything that was shattered was quickly restored, and in the process of being shattered and restored, he was transformed. Qi. As soon as the various impacts in his body calmed down, Su Fang's body burned with a heaven-defying aura flame. Whoosh! Whoosh! The flame burned wildly, engulfing Su Fang. After burning for more than 10 days, the tribulation fire gradually dissipated. Su Fang's entire body seemed to have been reborn from the fire, and his entire person had undergone a transformation. The skin of his physical body was as tender and lustrous as a baby's. His hair flashed with divine splendor, and every cell was glowing with an incomparably powerful vitality. The changes in his body were even more shocking. His physical body became more vast and profound, and at the same time, it became more powerful and full of vitality. The Jiuxuan Tao Palace became more vast, and the Dharma bodies also underwent a transformation. Seals containing profound Taoist rhythms were condensing on the barrier of the Jiuxuan Tao Palace, the chaotic region around the Tao Palace, and the Dharma bodies, causing the Tao Palace and Dharma bodies to become stronger and more stable. The colorful Jade Tao heart became more moist, and it emitted a dazzling light. A mysterious colorful mist lingered around the Tao heart. Tao Lord Realm. After coming to the Eastern Xian Divine Domain and going through many dangers, Su Fang finally succeeded in becoming a Tao Lord. Moreover, Su Fang's Tao Lord realm was different from ordinary Tao Lords. This meant that Su Fang now had the ability to establish himself in the Eastern Xian Divine Domain. Although he did not have the strength to dominate, he was no longer a weakling who could be trampled on. Coupled with the experts under his command and the 6 extreme Tao Sage Dharma bodies, Su Fang could now control a mystic world. Hurry up and recover, and get rid of those bandits as soon as possible. Having just broken through, Su Fang's physical body and Dharma bodies were very weak. He had to recover as soon as possible. Although he did not think much of those bandits, there were simply too many of them. They swarmed over like flies, and Su Fang felt a headache coming on. Su Fang began to wantonly devour pills to recover his empty physical body and Dharma bodies. That kid has just transcended his tribulation and is in a weakened state. Capture him. That kid is really hateful. Even if we don't want his treasures, we have to kill him. Seeing that the heavenly tribulation had ended, the bandits rushed back. Driven by the temptation of the treasures on Su Fang's body and their anger towards Su Fang, the bandits charged to the periphery of the material wasteland and launched fierce attacks on the formation. It was not just the 2 groups of bandits from before. There were even more bandits swarming towards the material wasteland like locusts. Su Fang's sensing power passed through the formation and sensed what was happening outside. He raised his eyebrows and said to Qin Heng and the others in a voice filled with killing intent, "Lure those bandits into the formation. I will ask Master Zhua to cooperate with you and suppress all of those bandits. Except for those with extraordinary strength, kill the rest." Which of these bandits did not kill people like flies? Chapter 2757. Boom, boom, boom. Under the frenzied attacks of the bandits, the formation finally started to shatter layer by layer, revealing a corner of the material ruins. The bandit leader wearing the wolf mask was overjoyed. He led the remaining 50 bandits and charged towards the material ruins. The bandit leader in black didn't want to fall behind either. He led the bandits and charged towards the material ruins like hungry tigers pouncing on their prey. Little did they know the bandits had just stepped onto the material ruins when the surrounding scenery suddenly changed. They fell into an endless illusion. Just as they were panicking, Master Zhua activated the formation's divine power. Qin Heng, Wu Meng, and Xian Tiancheng also took the opportunity to attack. Although there were many bandits, their cultivation levels weren't high. Only the 2 leaders had reached the level of a Dao Lord. Moreover, they were ordinary Dao Lords. They were easily suppressed by Qin Heng and the others. As for the other bandits, they were quickly killed by Qin Heng and the others. Then, they threw their corpses into the void outside the material ruins. The bandits who came later were all shocked. They realized that the rumored treasure wasn't so easy to obtain. They all left the material ruins. However, they weren't willing to leave just like that. They stayed and watched from afar. "Master, how should we deal with these 2 bandits?" Qin Heng led the 2 restrained bandit leaders to the periphery of the formation where Su Fang was. Whoosh! Su Fang condensed a thought and turned it into a lifelike figure. It passed through the formation and came out. "Master has just become a Dao Lord. His thought is so solid that he can transform into a human form." Qin Heng was greatly shocked, and besides feeling shocked, his reverence towards Su Fang grew even more. The 2 bandit leaders also looked at the figure formed by Su Fang's thought in shock. Why was that? Generally speaking, the way a Dao Lord cultivator used divine powers was similar to that of a cultivator from a low-level universe. On the other hand, a Dao Lord cultivator could transform their understanding of the Dao into Dao runes. They could condense their dermic powers and Dao heart into thoughts to form powerful attacks, defenses, and shackles. Not only did their power far exceed that of a Dao Lord, but they could also use divine powers with a single thought. However, using a will attack consumed quite a bit of energy. Dao Lords weren't able to form that many thoughts, and Supreme Dao Lords were only able to form 100 at most. In addition, most Dao Lords had extremely loose minds, making it difficult for them to take human form. Su Fang had just advanced to the Dao Lord realm, but he was already able to transform his thoughts into a human form. This was enough to show how astonishing his Dao heart, willpower, and cultivation were. The shadow formed by Su Fang's thought looked down at the 2 bandit leaders and asked, "Why are you here?" The bandit wearing the wolf mask hurriedly said, "Sir, you still don't know? Now the news has spread in the Daoless profound world and the surrounding profound world. They say that you stole all the treasures in the City Lord's mansion when the City Lord died for no reason. Looks like Daoless sect master has put in a lot of effort to deal with me." Su Fang didn't need to guess to know that this was the Daoless Gate master's scheme. He wanted to use him as a fat piece of meat to attract the bandits from the heaven-forsaken desolate region so that they could exhaust him to death. "You believe those rumors so easily?" Su Fang continued to ask. "There's also news from the Blood Valley. Although it's different from the rumors, it's said that you killed the City Lord of the Second Star Slaughter City. This news is really laughable. However, there's one thing that's the same. All the treasures in the City Lord's mansion are in your hands." The black-clothed bandit hurriedly replied. When he mentioned the matter of the Second Star Slaughter City, it was obvious that he didn't believe the news from the Blood Valley. Qin Heng sneered. "The news from the Blood Valley is correct. The city lord of the second star slaughter city was killed by Master. All the treasures in the city lord's mansion, including the Chamber of Commerce, all the wealth and resources are in Master's possession. Moreover, Master obtained 100 victories in the blood slaughter arena in the second star slaughter city and is now listed on the heavenly profound ranking. You laughable ants, how dare you target Master? You're courting death. You killed the city lord of the second star slaughter city? 100 victories in the blood slaughter arena and is listed on the heavenly profound ranking? The two bandit leaders couldn't believe it. However, Su Fang didn't intend to let them believe anything. He said to Qin Heng, I'll leave them to you. If they don't submit, just kill them and throw them outside. Then, Su Fang's thought returned to the formation and was sucked into the Tao Palace by his true body. The bandits outside were intimidated by Su Fang's ruthless methods and the powerful formation on the material ruins. They didn't dare to attack Su Fang anymore. However, they didn't leave. Instead, more and more of them gathered. This was the heaven-forsaken desolate region. There were as many bandits as there were hairs on a cow. Once they smelled the scent of treasures, they would swarm over like flies. Su Fang created a time formation on the material ruins. The flow of time in the formation was 10 times faster than outside. Naturally, the recovery speed was astonishing. In the blink of an eye, 30 years had passed in the space of the formation. Suddenly Law's voice came from inside the heavenly Tao avatar. Law and Su Fang's other relatives, friends, and subordinates lived in Su Fang's universe. They hadn't taken the initiative to talk to Su Fang for a long time. The moment they spoke, it was good news. Su Fang, quickly release me from your avatar. I'm going to level up. Level up? Law was finally going to level up. His level up meant that he could transcend the low-level universe and have the ability to survive in the Jiuquan God realm. Law's level up this time wasn't surprising at all. QL11 The main credit was the Blood Evil Stone. Law was from the Azura Divine clan. The Blood Evil Stone Su Fang obtained in the Blood Valley contained pure and high-level blood evil energy. It was just right for Law to cultivate. It hadn't been too long since the Blood Valley. He didn't expect Law to level up so quickly. Great news. Law's level up was naturally great news. Su Fang was overjoyed and released Law from the heavenly Tao avatar. Law's level up this time was to transcend the low-level universe. Therefore, it didn't attract the chaos tribulation and didn't take too long. It took only 3 months for Law to complete his promotion. After transcending the low-level universe, Law's entire person changed completely. He looked about the same age as Su Fang in his early 20s. He had sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes. He was heroic, rough, high-spirited, and in high spirits. At this time, Law was equivalent to transcending the shackles of resisting the universe and becoming a transcendent. However, he wasn't a true god but a fake one. Su Fang took out a large number of blood evil stones and blood evil pills for Law to cultivate and stabilize his realm. Su Fang now had all kinds of resources piled up into a mountain. Any one of them would be a great fortune for the cultivators and Big Goblin inside the heavenly Tao avatar. Unfortunately, no matter how many resources he had, he still needed the cultivators and Big Goblin inside Su Fang's universe to digest them. Moreover, it would take a lot of time to settle down. After Law's level up, Su Fang also recovered more than half in the formation. However, he was still far from the normal state of the lower level of the Tao realm. Not long after Law's level up, people from the Pongtsang universe transcended one after another and became transcendent. First was Xiao Wanting, then Emperor Sangqiu, and Emperor Only Tao also broke through not long after. Transcending the universe was the goal of every low-level universe cultivator. It could even be called the ultimate goal. Although Xiao Wanting, Sangqiu, and Only Tao were high and mighty emperor powerhouses in the Pongtsang universe, the possibility of them being able to transcend was not high. The reason why they were able to transcend so quickly was naturally because of the various resources provided by Su Fang. The three of them were naturally grateful to Su Fang. Helping them was a piece of cake for Su Fang. However, for them, it required a lifetime of struggle. Inside Su Fang's universe, Su Fang's other relatives, friends, and powerhouses under his command, no one else was able to level up. Even Xuanxin was still cultivating in seclusion at this time. Although the speed of improvement was amazing after fusing with the ice feather god Luan, it was still not to the level of transcendence. After all, only tens of thousands of years had passed. Qin Yu and Bai Ling were also constantly settling down. It was also difficult for them to transcend in a short time. As for Su Yaotian and other cultivators from the Pongsong universe's Great World and the Big Goblin, most of them would stop at the height of the low-level universe. This was due to the congenital restriction. Su Fang had no way to solve this problem at this time. Outside the material ruins, more and more bandits had gathered over the years. There was no lack of true powerhouses among them. Not only were there famous bandits from around the Wudao mysterious world, but there were also many powerhouses from the Wudao sect. Because they were afraid of the formation outside the material ruins, plus Su Fang's ruthless means, and because many bandits were afraid of each other, no one took the initiative to attack. As for Su Fang's 100 victories on the second killing Star City's blood-killing platform and killing the City Lord, not many people knew about it because the Wudao sect deliberately covered it up. However, some powerful bandits heard about what happened in the Blood Valley and learned about Su Fang's brilliant battle record. They snorted and did not believe it at all. A mere Dao True Realm cultivator could shake the City Lord of Killing Star City? In the eyes of those bandits, it was impossible. Instead, they treated the truth as a rumor and laughed it off. The Wudao sect deliberately exaggerated the fact that Su Fang had obtained all the treasures of the City Lord mansion. This made the bandits believe it without a doubt, and their greed grew stronger. In the end, under the instigation of the Wudao sect's powerhouses, the bandit leaders and bandits from all over the world reached an agreement. They would work together to break the formation and suppress Su Fang. After this, they would divide the treasures obtained by Su Fang. On this day, boom! Bandit forces from all over the world, as well as some lone bandits, charged toward the material ruins where Su Fang was like a tide. All kinds of thoughts, supernatural powers, and Xian Bao formed a terrifying attack. It crushed the formation outside the material ruins. Although the formation created by Master Zhuo was extraordinary and there were many of them, it was still unable to stop such a shocking attack. Under the tide-like attack, the formation shattered layer by layer. Even the material ruins were collapsing. Boom! The formation finally collapsed completely. The material ruins also turned into debris. Chapter 2758. The commotion caused by the destruction of the formation and material ruins hadn't even calmed down when numerous bandits impatiently charged into the chaos. Suddenly, Su Fang's indifferent voice resounded. "Didn't all of you want my treasures? I'll give them all to all of you." As soon as he finished speaking, a strand of Xian Guang swept out and swept away all the dust and debris in the surroundings. The Xian Guang was enveloped by countless treasures. All sorts of Xian Baos, medicinal pills, spirit treasures, and gems floated within the Xian Guang. It was like a vast ocean that flickered with multicolored light and emanated shocking auras of the Tao and spirit energy. All the bandits gasped at practically the exact same time, and then their gasps converged together and transformed into rumbling that sounded like a tsunami. There were truly too many treasures. Moreover, all of them were extraordinary treasures. Even the number one power in the heaven-forsaken region was unable to produce so many treasures in an instant, let alone the other bandits. "All of those treasures are mine." A lone bandit reacted the quickest. He executed a thought that instantly transformed into divine might that swept towards the Xian Guang. Bang! 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 Over 100 strands of thought and the might of over 10 xian baos blasted onto the bandit like a surging tide. That bandit's strength was extraordinary, and he'd attained the intermediate Daolord realm. He was a renowned bandit in the heaven-forsaken region. However, the bandit didn't have the slightest ability to resist such a terrifying attack, and he was instantly blasted into ash. The strand of thought that swept towards the treasures shattered along with the death of that bandit. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Countless bandits swarmed over and attacked the treasures enveloped by the Xian Guang at the same time. They were like a pack of hungry wolves that had fallen into madness. Rumble, crack. The divine might released by various strands of thought and the might of the Xian Baos and talisman markings caused waves of explosions that shook the heavens and the earth. Bandits were losing their lives at every single moment. However, they were like hungry wolves that had smelled blood, and they'd already forgotten about life and death as they charged forward dauntlessly. All of these treasures belong to me. Whoever dares to snatch them shall die. A skinny old man with a black spot between his eyebrows wearing a black robe stepped through the void. Surprisingly, this person was a peerless expert at the peak of the Daolord realm. Everywhere he went, he crushed countless bandits and took all the treasures in the Xian Guang. Black-heart old monster. That person is the black-heart old monster whose might shakes the heavens and the forsaken desolation region. Now that the treasure is in his hands, who can take it away? Although the bandits were unwilling, they were afraid of the old man's strength and stopped attacking. Only I have the qualifications to possess so many treasures. Not bad, my luck this time is really not bad. Old freak He Xian smiled sinisterly. A wave of divine might swept out from his palm and was about to absorb all the treasures into his body. Suddenly Blackheart Old Monster raised his white eyebrows, and surprise flashed in his eyes. He reached out and grabbed the Xian Guang barrier around the treasure. Pooh! The Xian Guang and all the treasures within the Xian Guang burst like soap bubbles, and they transformed into specks of starlight that dispersed into the surroundings. Those so-called treasures were actually all illusions formed from illusions. We've been tricked. We've all been tricked by that kid, Su Fang. Capture him. We must burn his bones and scatter his ashes. All the bandits were dumbstruck at first, and then they roared furiously. Over 10,000 bandits had actually been tricked into killing each other by the illusions of a Dao monarch who just advanced into the Dao monarch realm, causing countless casualties. So, their rage was obvious. Old freak He Xian was extremely furious as well. Old freak He Xian, who'd shaken the heavens and the forsaken desolation region, had actually been played like a monkey. So, the rage in his heart was obvious. His gaze that was filled with fierce killing intent swept through the surroundings in search of Su Fang. However, how could he find even a trace of Su Fang? A mere Dao monarch, an ant-like existence. Wouldn't it be a huge joke if you were to escape? Old freak He Xian sent out his senses, and then he laughed ghastly before he executed his movement technique and soared through the sky. It turned out that Su Fang had executed the Yang refinement art and created illusions to lure the bandits into killing each other, whereas he'd seized the opportunity to leave in an unhurried manner. After he'd advanced into the Dao monarch realm, his cultivation hadn't just advanced by a great step, the might of his dark Yang Dharma body and the Yang refinement art had advanced to a new level as well. Even peerless experts at the peak of the Daolord realm had been deceived by the Yang refinement art and the illusions he'd created with his thoughts. Of course, it was because those bandits were greedy. They were only focused on seizing the treasures and didn't carefully distinguish the truth from the illusions, so they were easily deceived. Actually, Su Fang didn't intend to flee. There were too many bandits, and it was impossible to kill them all. Moreover, killing them was useless. So, Su Fang escaped from the bandits and left in embarrassment. After executing the blazing light movement technique and flying for over 2 hours, Su Fang stopped in midair, and then his brows knit together while strands of coldness appeared in the depths of his eyes. It turned out that there were 2 peak Downlord Realm experts following him, and it was impossible for him to shake them off even with the blazing light movement technique. One of them was a middle-aged man from the Downlord sect. He had a hooked nose, a gaze that was sharp like an eagle's, and his speed was swift like an eagle's. The other old man was from an unknown place. He wore a crimson-red robe that was covered in numerous black-colored divine markings of flames. His aura was empty, and his square face revealed a domineering and mighty aura. He was probably a peerless expert from a bandit group. Both of them stopped 50 kilometers away from Su Fang when they noticed that he'd stopped fleeing. They were so far away, so they could execute their thoughts with a thought and suppress Su Fang. The middle-aged man from the Downlord sect laughed coldly and said, "Kid, since you know you can't escape, then why don't you just obediently allow yourself to be captured?" "Allow myself to be captured?" Su Fang laughed coldly and embarrassedly. "Looks like the lesson I taught the Downlord sect wasn't deep enough." The old man in the crimson-red robe chuckled and said, "Left Emissary Han, we've already agreed that this kid will belong to your Downlord sect, and all the treasures he obtained from the Blood Valley will belong to me." The middle-aged man from the Downlord sect nodded and said, "The Downlord sect naturally won't go back on its word. However, this kid is extremely difficult to deal with. Sector Lord Ghostflame, don't be careless." The old man in the crimson-red robe said, "If this kid was a simple character, then how could your Downlord sect be willing to let me interfere with such a fat piece of meat that's already in your mouth? Don't worry, even if this kid is really ranked on the Heavenly Profound rankings, he won't be able to escape this time. My actions aren't restricted by the Jiuxuan's laws." The 2 of them communicated without restraint and completely disregarded Su Fang. Swish! A black Xian Guang tore through the air and transformed into a black-robed old man. It was Old Man He Xian. Left Emissary Han of the Downlord sect and Sector Lord Ghostflame of the Ghostflame world? Old Man He Xian's expression changed slightly when he saw the 2 experts with the same cultivation as him. When they saw Old Man He Xian, the middle-aged man from the Downlord sect and the old man in the crimson-red robe revealed fear and hatred from their deep eyes. Su Fang wasn't surprised by Old Man He Xian's arrival. The illusion he cast could deceive those low-level cultivators, but it couldn't deceive peerless experts at the peak of the Downlord realm. However, Su Fang wasn't afraid at all. He possessed various extraordinary abilities, so he didn't take the 3 peak Downlord experts too seriously at this moment. Old Man He Xian grunted coldly as he looked at Su Fang and said coldly, "Kid, you actually dared to play tricks on me. Once I capture you, I'll surely eat your Dao heart just like how I dealt with those cultivators from the heaven-forsaken slave race. After that, I'll refine you into a puppet." Meanwhile, Left Emissary Han of the Downlord sect suddenly said, "Su Fang, this is Old Man He Xian whose might shakes the entire heaven-forsaken region. However, his reputation isn't because of how formidable his strength is, and it's because he loves to devour the hearts of cultivators to cultivate evil cultivation techniques." The old man in the crimson-red robe, Sector Lord Ghostflame, was stunned, and then he understood Left Emissary Han's intentions and said, "Moreover, Old Man He Xian bullies the weak and fears the strong. He doesn't dare to offend formidable figures, so he specializes in bullying those lowly cultivators from the heaven-forsaken slave race. He's once massacred no less than 100 cities of cultivators from the heaven-forsaken slave race and killed countless people. Their intentions were very obvious. They intended to sow discord between Su Fang and Old Man He Xian, and then they'd reap the benefits from the battle. I do bully the weak and fears the strong. However, I'm afraid of experts that have surpassed the Downlord realm. I'll kill any cultivator in the Downlord realm who dares to obstruct my path to wealth." Old Man He Xian laughed ghastly and coldly. After that, a dark Xian Guang flashed out from the space between his brows, and it transformed into a ghastly white ghost claw that grabbed at Su Fang. Su Fang's heart suddenly constricted, as if it was forcefully grabbed by an invisible hand, and then the invisible hand suddenly withdrew, causing Su Fang's heart to seem as if it was about to jump out from his chest. OM! 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 Su Fang's Dao heart shook and emanated rays of light that shattered the evil will. QL 11-inch your Dao heart is actually so extraordinary. However, I like cultivators with firm Dao hearts the most. Only such hearts are tasty. Old man He Xian laughed strangely as a strand of cold wind swept out from the space between his brows, and it descended onto the ghost claw. The ghost claw instantly became material, and it instantly soared through the sky and clawed fiercely at Su Fang's heart. A strand of might that came from time suddenly surged out from within Su Fang's body, and it enveloped his body. Pooh! Su Fang's figure was crushed into pieces by the ghost claw. Old man He Xian hadn't expected that he would be able to succeed so easily. He was first stunned, and then he realized something, causing his eyes to reveal surprise. The three sovereign mysterious sects temporal divine ability? It turned out that Su Fang had executed the temporal grand Dao divine ability with a single thought, and it allowed him to surpass the restraints of time in reality. What old man He Xian had killed was merely an image of him that was left behind an instant ago. In the blink of an eye, Su Fang appeared more than 10 miles away from old man He Xian. His body was enveloped by the phantom of a 6-story pagoda, and his entire person was like the incarnation of a pagoda. In the state of the profound yellow avatar, Su Fang fused with the power of thousands of experts within the profound yellow avatar, and grabbed hundreds of sword qi that surged towards old man He Xian. How dare you show off your insignificant skills in front of me? Not good. Chapter 2759. Old man He Xian couldn't be blamed for being careless. After all, he was a peak Dao Lord. No one could threaten him, except for the peerless experts who had surpassed the Dao Lord realm. Su Fang had just become a Dao Lord, so old man He Xian naturally wouldn't take him seriously and thought that he could easily suppress him with a single strike. QL11 Su Fang's Xian Wang avatar combined the strength of over 1,000 experts, including more than a dozen Dao Lords. He executed the origin harmonization sword technique with an unstoppable force. Old man He Xian was caught off guard, so he could only defend himself. Crack! The white skeletons released by old man He Xian could withstand the full force attack of a peak Dao Lord. However, under the powerful attack of the origin harmonization sword technique, they were instantly minced into bone fragments and scattered in all directions. The sword formation's power didn't decrease as it minced old man He Xian's body into pieces. Swoosh! 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 Over 10,000 figures suddenly flew out from old man He Xian's shattered body and merged with the pieces of his body. In an instant, numerous old man He Xian floated in the void. There were actually over 10,000 of them. Not only did they look the same, but even their auras were exactly the same. I've refined over 10,000 doppelgangers, which means I have over 10,000 avatars. As long as one avatar isn't destroyed, I won't die. Over 10,000 old man He Xian laughed wildly, and his laughter reverberated in the void. The Black Heart Old Monster practices an evil cultivation method that turns cultivators into Dharmakaya puppets. Although he doesn't have the strength of a Dharmakaya, he can inhabit the puppets with his consciousness. As long as his true spirit is not destroyed, he is immortal. The Ghost Flame Realm Lord frowned. He was afraid of old man He Xian's evil technique and had a headache. The Daolord Sex Hanzwa snorted. This monster has used this technique to escape the pursuit of numerous experts. Otherwise, how could he be so carefree until now? The Ghost Flame Realm Lord said. Fortunately, old man He Xian attacked first. If it were the two of us, we would have been caught off guard and would have suffered a great loss at the hands of Su Fang. His strength can be considered as a big shot in the heaven-forsaken wilderness. Left Emissary Han, did your Taoist sect underestimate this kid's strength, or did you intentionally conceal it? Left Emissary Han said, I have indeed underestimated this person. However, he is currently entangled with Black Heart Old Monster. Even if he is not killed, he will not be able to escape. When the time comes, you and I can easily suppress him. The Ghost Flame Domain Lord nodded. That's right. Although the Black Heart Old Monster's puppets aren't as strong as before, there are many of them. It won't be easy for Su Fang to escape. Just as he finished speaking, Su Fang unleashed his blood-evil Dharma body. Streaks of dense slaughter marks appeared on his Dharma body, instantly condensing into streaks of slaughter sword chi that swept toward a Black Heart Old Monster's Dharma body puppet. Impossible! How could you possibly know that my soul is residing in this puppet body? Black Heart Old Monster's incredulous voice came from the puppet body. He found it difficult to believe that over 10,000 puppet avatars were exactly the same. Even a peerless expert that surpassed the Taolord realm would find it extremely difficult to notice the puppet avatar where the soul quintessence resided if they didn't possess a formidable and special divine ability, yet Su Fang had easily found it. Black Heart Old Monster naturally did not know that Su Fang had mastered the divine skill of sensing fate. It was easy for Su Fang to find his soul origin. Moreover, Su Fang had also unleashed the life-shrinking technique. Together with the slaughter will, it formed a fate lock and oppression on Black Heart Old Monster's soul. Under the impact of the sharp slaughter sword chi, the puppet body began to shatter. The soul origin that resided in the puppet body was also impacted by the slaughter will and oppressed by the fate power of the life-shrinking technique. Although it was not shattered, it was also heavily injured. Whoosh! A shadow darted out from the puppet body. It was Black Heart Old Monster's soul. Then, wisps of black smoke came out from the puppet bodies. They turned into thoughts and shrouded the soul. They quickly condensed into Black Heart Old Monster and disappeared into the void in a flash. This Black Heart Old Monster was also a ruthless character. Seeing that the situation was not good, he directly abandoned the puppet body and used his thoughts to condense a divine body to escape. However, even if he was lucky enough to escape, his vitality was greatly damaged. It would be difficult for him to recover to his original strength. Those puppet bodies had lost control of their thoughts. They floated in the void like living corpses. Su Fang's eyes flashed with a domineering light. He looked at the Taoist sect's left Emissary Han and the Ghost Flame Domain Lord, who were in shock. He said domineeringly, "Which one of you will go first? Or all of you together?" The Ghost Flame Domain Lord snorted coldly, "What an arrogant brat. You think you can be arrogant in front of me just because you defeated Black Heart Old Monster? No matter how extraordinary you are only one person. I am the Ghost Flame Domain Lord of the heaven-forsaken desolate region. I have a powerful force. How can you be so arrogant?" Then, he waved his hand and a Xian Guang rushed out. Many figures stood in front of the Ghost Flame Domain Lord. There were more than 500 people in total. There were as many as 8 Tao Lords. Among them, 3 were Upper Tao Lords. The rest were powerful Tao Lords and Tao True Realm experts. Left Emissary Han praised, "I didn't expect the Ghost Flame Domain Lord to have so many experts under his command. No wonder you can dominate a Xian world." The Ghost Flame Domain Lord showed a proud expression. "However," he said humbly, "my force is nothing to the Taoist sect. The heaven-forsaken desolate region was different from the other places in the Eastern Xian divine domain. The so-called Xian world was naturally not as big as the other Xian worlds in the Eastern Xian divine domain. Its force was also far inferior. Although the Ghost Flame domain was called a Xian world, it was just a larger material plane that was occupied by a powerful bandit force. However, the Ghost Flame Domain Lord had so many experts under his command. In addition to his own strength, even if he was not a top force in the heaven-forsaken desolate region, he could be considered a first-rate force. This time, the Ghost Flame Domain Lord had mobilized all his forces to fight for the treasure. Obviously, he was determined to get Su Fang's treasure. The Ghost Flame Domain Lord looked at Su Fang and was very proud. "Kid, unless you have strength that surpasses a Tao Lord, you are alone. Otherwise, the experts under my command will instantly crush you into powder. Hand over the treasure obediently. Maybe I will let you go." Comparing numbers? Su Fang laughed involuntarily. The Ghost Flame Domain Lord shouted to the experts under his command, "Capture him. If you can capture him alive, capture him alive. If you can't, kill him directly." Yes. The experts under the Ghost Flame Domain Lord's command charged towards Su Fang like a tide. Su Fang sneered and said, "Is it so great to have more people?" Swoosh. 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 Su Fang waved his hand. Instantly, many figures appeared in front of him. There were not many of them. There were only about 1,500 to 600 of them. As for the experts, there were more than a dozen Tao Lords. There were as many as 3 upper Tao Lords. The rest were mostly Tao Lords. There were very few Tao True Realm cultivators. Moreover, almost all of these cultivators appeared with Blood Fiend Dharma bodies. The Blood Fiend aura they released swept out in all directions, causing the endless void to fall into a monstrous slaughter. Most of the experts under Su Fang's command were subdued in the second Star Killer city of the Blood Valley. They had all cultivated Blood Fiend Dharma bodies, not only in the heaven-forsaken desolate region, but also in the eastern profound divine domain. Cultivators with Blood Fiend Dharma bodies were much stronger than cultivators of the same level. With the suppression of the will of slaughter, they could even fight against 10 cultivators. The Ghost Flame Domain experts who were charging towards Su Fang in an aggressive manner immediately withered under the impact of the killing aura of the experts under Su Fang's command. Their Tao hearts were shaken, and they all trembled in fear. The Ghost Flame Domain Lord and Left Emissary Han's expressions changed instantly. Left Emissary Han made a prompt decision and said to the Ghost Flame Domain Lord, "Ghost Flame Domain Lord, I didn't expect Su Fang to have such a strong overall strength. I'll take my leave first. Take care, Domain Lord." After he finished speaking, he displayed his Dharma body. Huge light wings that were hundreds of meters long extended from his back. He was like a giant eagle. As he flapped his wings, he flew tens of thousands of miles away in a flash. The experts of the Taoist sect saw that the situation was not good and fled. "Kill these bandits. All the treasures and resources on them will belong to you." At this moment, Su Fang's voice was filled with killing intent. "Thank you, Master." More than 1,000 experts under Su Fang's command shouted in unison. They swept towards the Ghost Flame Domain experts with the momentum of sweeping away 1,000 troops. Boom, boom, boom. Not only did Su Fang have more experts under his command, their strength also far surpassed the Ghost Flame Domain experts. Moreover, he had Blood Fiend Dharma bodies. The situation was one-sided. The Ghost Flame Domain experts held on for less than half an incense's time. More than 1/3 of them were dead or injured. They began to collapse. "Su Fang, I'll kill you and take your treasures. I'll be able to make up for this loss." The Ghost Flame Domain Lord directly attacked Su Fang and released hundreds of thoughts in one breath. The thoughts instantly appeared around Su Fang and arranged in a formation. Then, the divine flame aura suddenly exploded. It was not the ordinary divine flame aura. Instead, it was balls of black flames. Within each ball of flames, there was a strange and ferocious ghost roaring. More than 100 balls of flames instantly turned into a sea of fire and shrouded Su Fang. Horrifying flaming ghosts pounced towards Su Fang. In the heaven-forsaken wilderness, there were many cultivators who practiced the evil Tao technique. The Ghost Flame Domain Lord was the same as the Black Heart Old Monster. They were both powerful cultivators who mastered the evil Tao technique. The thoughts he displayed now not only contained the divine flame aura and Taoist rhymes, but also the evil intent. It made Su Fang feel as if he had fallen into a purgatory ghost domain. Break. Su Fang did not want to be entangled with the Ghost Flame Domain Lord. He directly merged with the 6 extreme Tao Saints' will and released a thought. Qi. The thought turned into a sharp and resplendent golden light. It contained the supreme Taoist rhymes and power of the Gold Tao. Under the 6 extreme Tao Saints' supreme will, the ghosts let out shrill cries and were instantly torn apart. The flames and ghost domain that shrouded Su Fang were also swept away. The golden light that was formed by the thought did not diminish. In a flash, it enveloped the Ghost Flame Domain Lord. Spare me! The Ghost Flame Domain Lord felt that the thought was vast and powerful. It had surpassed the Tao Master. He was scared out of his wits and immediately begged for mercy. Puff. Chapter 2760. With the death of the Ghost Flame World Lord, his subordinates had completely lost their will to fight. Over 100 of them were suppressed by the experts under Su Fang's command. Most of the remaining subordinates were killed, and only a few managed to escape. They quickly cleaned up the mess. Taoist sect, you want to kill me, Su Fang. How can I let you pay the price? Su Fang didn't leave. Instead, he executed the blazing light escape technique with all his strength. He transformed into a ray of fiery light and flew towards the direction that the Taoist sect's left emissary Han had fled. The blazing light escape technique was originally an incomplete escape technique. Su Fang had already repaired it with the Heaven's Expansion Profound solution. This escape technique was extremely powerful. When Su Fang was at the lower Tao Truth Realm, he was able to escape the pursuit of Taoist sect's experts by executing the blazing light escape technique. Now that Su Fang had advanced into the Tao Monarch realm, his blazing light escape technique speed was even more shocking. Moreover, he could execute it for a long time. The Taoist sect's left emissary Han fled when he saw that the situation was bad. He used his avatar to execute a supreme ability and flew for 6 hours. I didn't expect that not only is Su Fang's strength formidable, he actually has so many experts under his command. Fortunately, the Ghost Flame World Lord was able to hold him back. Otherwise, I would be in danger. Left emissary Han concluded that Su Fang wouldn't pursue him. Therefore, he heaved a long sigh of relief and slowed down. Unexpectedly, Su Fang transformed into a ray of fiery light and flew through the void. Damn it! That Ghost Flame World Lord was actually so weak that he couldn't hold Su Fang back for too long. How can a Tao Monarch Realm cultivator execute such a heaven-defying escape technique? Left emissary Han was shocked. He used his avatar to execute another ability and transformed into a giant eagle. He flapped his wings and whistled out. As expected of a peak Taoist sect expert, when he fled with all his strength, Su Fang couldn't catch up to him even if he executed the blazing light escape technique. However, it was also impossible for left emissary Han to shake off Su Fang. The two of them were separated by a distance of thousands of miles. One chased while the other fled through the void. Left emissary Han's cultivation base was one realm higher than Su Fang. However, Su Fang's recovery speed was naturally shocking. Left emissary Han's control over to recover. Left emissary Han's. Left emissary Han's avatar. Damn it! Why is Su Fang so difficult to deal with? Left emissary Han was both shocked and angry. He even felt that this was absurd. A dignified peak Tao Lord was actually being pursued madly by a Tao Lord that had just advanced into the Tao Lord realm. Such a feeling was extremely absurd indeed. Left emissary Han's to left emissary to die to left Taoist Han. Emissary left Taoist to fly to Han to fly to Dao to left to Dao. It turned out that they were the bandits who had besieged Su Fang because of the rumors spread by the Taoist sect. They were attacked by Su Fang's illusions and fought amongst themselves. They searched everywhere for Su Fang to no avail. Never had they imagined that they would run into him here. Left Emissary Han was pleasantly surprised. He was like a drowning man who had grabbed onto a life-saving straw. He immediately shouted loudly, "Su Fang is here. Kill him!" "Su Fang? We've finally found that kid. Not only will I take all his treasures, I'll even skin him alive." The bandits were overjoyed and they charged towards Su Fang. However, there were some bandits who were still rational. Some of them were experts from the Taoist sect. When they noticed that left Emissary Han was being pursued by Su Fang, they were instantly shocked and felt that it was absurd. Su Fang was blocked by the bandits who had lost their rationality. Left Emissary Han finally had a chance to catch his breath, and he sped up and fled. Some bandits reacted as well, and they immediately turned around and fled. Those who block Su Fang's path die. Su Fang's voice that was filled with murderous intent rolled out. Numerous slaughter marks released a murderous aura that transformed into a sword formation that swept out. Chi, 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 chi. The bandits who were blocking Su Fang's path lost their minds under the impact of the terrifying murderous aura, and their figures were blasted flying. A Taoist expert's thought was destroyed by the sword formation. He was so shocked that he wanted to flee for his life. However, Su Fang executed the true eyes of annihilation and burned his soul before he was killed by the sword formation. When the other bandits saw how powerful Su Fang was, they all retreated except for some bandits who were enraged. Boom, boom, boom. Su Fang released his dark yellow avatar and merged it with the strength of numerous experts. He was invincible wherever he went. An upper Taoist expert's body was shattered, and the remaining avatar fled in panic. Only then did the remaining bandits realize that Su Fang wasn't a piece of meat waiting to be slaughtered. He was clearly a god of death, and they scattered like birds and beasts. "Let's see where you can run to." Su Fang revealed a domineering smile, and continued to chase in the direction that Taoist sect's left Emissary Han had fled. Whoosh! A giant eagle swept through the sky and suddenly stopped. It transformed into Taoist sect's left Emissary Han. "I've finally gotten rid of Su Fang. Damn it, I was actually chased by a cultivator who had just advanced to the Tao Lord realm. This is the greatest humiliation in my life." Left Emissary Han was filled with shame and anger, and he gnashed his teeth. Suddenly, his divine light changed instantly, and fear surged out from his deep eyes. "Damn it, he's actually catching up again." In a flash, a fiery light flashed from afar. It was Su Fang who was chasing after him. Left Emissary Han gritted his teeth. He ignored the huge consumption of energy and used his divine ability to fly away again. Half a month later, Left Emissary Han was still unable to shake off Su Fang's pursuit. The consumption of his magic power and divine power made it difficult for him to continue. Just as he was in despair, a huge flying sword that was hundreds of meters long suddenly flew through the void. A middle-aged scholarly cultivator sat cross-legged on the flying sword. His aura was faint, and he was actually an upper-level Tao Lord. Although he was not at the peak, he was still a formidable expert. Isn't this Lord Han of the Taoist sect? The middle-aged cultivator noticed Left Emissary Han fleeing and asked in surprise. "God Lord Iron Sword, I was ambushed and injured, and now I'm being chased. Help me stall for a moment, and I'll definitely repay you in the future." Left Emissary Han said in a low voice. Lord Han, even Left Emissary Han, a peak Tao Lord, was being chased and forced to flee. God Lord Iron Sword was no fool. Why would he risk his life for him? Left Emissary Han snorted. "That person is only a Tao Lord. If I hadn't been ambushed and injured, why would I fear him? Moreover, that person is Su Fang. Su Fang. The one chasing you is actually Su Fang? God Lord Iron Sword's eyes instantly lit up. Soon after, he revealed a lofty and domineering aura. That Su Fang is truly arrogant. He actually dared to hit Lord Han while he was down. Since I've encountered him, I won't sit by and watch no matter what. Many thanks. I'll take my leave first. Thank you for your trouble, God Lord Iron Sword. Left Emissary Han sneered in his heart, but he put on a grateful expression. He cupped his fists at God Lord Iron Sword before fleeing for his life. Swish! Su Fang, in his fiery state, arrived in an instant. His figure suddenly stopped, and he transformed back into Su Fang's figure. It really is Su Fang. Although the members of the Taoist sect are all overbearing and arrogant, Left Emissary Han is a pretty good person. He has given me such a great fortune. Su Fang's portrait had long ago spread throughout the Taoist sect's mystic world and the surrounding mystic world. God Lord Iron Sword instantly recognized Su Fang, and his eyes flashed with endless greed. As he sat cross-legged on his massive sword, he sent out a thought that transformed into sword chi that engulfed Su Fang. Seeking death, Su Fang used the True Yang Evil Slaying Sword to activate the True Yang Evil Slaying Sword, and a searing and sharp sword chi shattered and incinerated the surrounding sword chi. The True Yang Evil Slaying Sword's terrifying profound Yang Dao rhythm and sharp sword intent swept toward God Lord Iron Sword. To think that a Tao Lord would possess such astonishing strength! God Lord Iron Sword paled in shock. Only now did he realize that Left Emissary Han had not given him any great fortune, but had tricked him. Swish! QL11 The giant sword under his body shot out, drawing a sword light that looked like the Milky Way, surging towards Su Fang to kill him. The divine might of the True Yang Evil Slaying Sword clashed with the power of the massive sword and was sent flying. God Lord Iron Sword smugly smiled, and while activating his massive sword, he sent tensome thoughts at Su Fang. Seeking death. Su Fang's cold brows rose like swords. Fusing the blood fiend body with his physical body, he took a step forward and punched at the surging wave of sword chi. With this punch, Su Fang used the attack style of the blood fiend Divine Guard, displaying true slaughter. Berserk killing energy stirred up a frigid gale that transformed into a storm. The storm swept through the sword chi and God Lord Iron Sword's thoughts. This killing energy contained the Tao rhythm of death, capable of annihilating all life. It instantly extinguished all the Tao rhythm and sword intent in the sword chi, as well as the will and consciousness in the thoughts. The tide-like sword chi instantly became dispirited, while the storm of killing energy stirred up by Su Fang swept past and struck God Lord Iron Sword. Blood sprayed from God Lord Iron Sword's mouth, and the vitality of his physical body was rapidly drained away. Even his Tao heart was instantly shattered. An upper Tao Lord cultivator, and a formidable sword cultivator at that, had died in an instant. Su Fang's blood fiend body was truly formidable. Left Emissary Han had not fled very far when he sensed God Lord Iron Sword's death. Great waves of shock once more arose in his heart, and he did not hesitate to ignite his body and speed up his escape. 3 months later, the dispirited Left Emissary Han finally saw the Taoist profound world, and he was instantly overjoyed. The Taoist profound world? Su Fang smiled coldly and embarrassedly while the eyes beneath his brows flickered with a domineering luster. I'm looking for trouble with the Taoist sect. This time, I'll just smash through the Taoist sect. He took out a high-grade medicinal pill and swallowed it before flying towards the Taoist profound world unhurriedly. The Taoist sect's Left Emissary Han had fled to a piece of material on the outskirts of the Taoist profound world. This was already the outskirts of the Taoist sect, and a branch of the Taoist sect was overseeing it. Humph! Could it be that you dare to chase me all the way to the Taoist sect? Left Emissary Han's heart instantly calmed down when he entered the Taoist sect's branch. Unexpectedly, Left Emissary Han had just rested for less than 3 days when a bone-piercing cold-killing energy suddenly descended from the sky. Damn it! That kid is actually so arrogant that he dares to chase me to the Dallas sect? Arrogant! That kid is too arrogant! Left Emissary Han's Tao heart almost shattered when he sensed this aura. Chapter 2761. Su Fang, are you planning to challenge the entire Taoist sect by yourself? Left Emissary Han led thousands of cultivators and charged out from the material world, shouting at Su Fang. If you want to kill me, Su Fang, you have to pay the price. So what if I challenge the Taoist sect? Su Fang shouted coldly. Those cultivators outside the Taoist sect didn't know the truth. To them, the Taoist sect was like the sky in the heaven-forsaken desolation region. Su Fang, a mere Tao Lord cultivator, dared to challenge the Taoist sect, which immediately caused a lot of angry roars. Kill that arrogant man! Left Emissary Han forced himself to be calm and ordered all the cultivators guarding the material world to charge towards Su Fang. As for himself, he flew towards the Taoist mysterious world without hesitation. Kill them all! Su Fang released the experts under his command. These cultivators in the material world were just the outer members of the Taoist sect. The strongest one was only a lower Tao Lord. How could they be a match for the experts under Su Fang's command? In less than half an hour, the thousands of cultivators outside the Taoist sect were all killed by Su Fang's subordinate. Su Fang sucked all his subordinates into his black and yellow Dharma body and slowly flew towards the Taoist mysterious world. When Su Fang arrived at the periphery of the Taoist mysterious world, Left Emissary Han had already ordered the cultivators of the Taoist sect to close the boundary gate to the Taoist mysterious world. The Taoist mysterious world was built in a collapsed space area. The huge boundary was integrated with the space as if it was a natural boundary. Su Fang looked at the powerful boundary and frowned. Even a peerless expert like Executioner Grandma, who had surpassed the Tao Lord level, couldn't shake the boundary at all from the outside, let alone him. He originally planned to give the Taoist sect a taste of their own medicine and turn the Taoist city upside down. Now, it seemed that his plan was going to fail. A layer of distorted divine light rose from the boundary. Dozens of thoughts quickly condensed into figures. One of the figures was formed by Left Emissary Han's thoughts. He finally got rid of Su Fang's pursuit and was very pleased with himself. He shouted at Su Fangda, "Brat Su Fang, aren't you very arrogant? If you have the ability, why don't you break through the barrier and chase after me? Ha ha! This seat will stay in Taoist City and not come out. What can you do to this seat?" The dozen figures beside Left Emissary Han were all formed by the thoughts of the Taoist sect's experts who were guarding the spirit formation portal. When they heard Left Emissary Han's words, they were all shocked and stunned. In the Taoist sect, Left Emissary Han was also a big shot. His position was higher than most of the elders, and his power was astonishing. At this moment, Left Emissary Han was facing a Tao Lord cultivator and was so scared that he hid inside the barrier, not daring to come out. However, he had a smug look on his face. It was truly strange and unbelievable. A figure formed from the will of a Tao Lord spoke, "Lord Left Emissary, why don't you charge out of the barrier and crush that kid? Suppress him?" Left Emissary Han glanced at the figure, and a powerful will struck it, immediately shattering it. The other figures were all trembling, but they didn't know what was going on. Left Emissary Han snorted coldly. That Su Fang was able to seriously injure Old Man He Xian and kill the Ghost Flame Sector Lord and Divine Lord Tai Jian. Which one of you is stronger than these two experts? Or do you think that this seat is weak? The dozen figures all shone with divine light. Left Emissary Han shouted, "Seal the barrier. If anyone lets that Su Fang in, this seat will take his head." Immediately, the dozen figures turned into thoughts and entered the barrier. Do you think that I can't do anything to you just because you've sealed the spirit formation portal into Tao's mysterious world? Su Fong revealed a domineering aura. Less than 100 miles away from the spirit formation portal, Su Fong controlled the flaming cloud flying carriage and floated in the void. Of course, he didn't have the powerful strength to break the barrier and enter Tao's mysterious world. However, there was no need for him to attack Tao's city. Tao's mysterious world was built in a huge spatial crack, and this was the only exit. As long as the formation was guarded, the people outside couldn't enter, and the people inside couldn't come out. I don't believe that the cultivators in Tao's mysterious world will never come out. Su Fong changed his mind and directly guarded the spirit formation portal into Tao's mysterious world. Time passed day by day. As the spirit formation portal into Tao's mysterious world was sealed, more and more cultivators were blocked outside Tao's mysterious world, and the cultivators inside Tao's mysterious world were also a sea of people. Tao's sect, the #1 force in heaven-forsaken desolation region, was so scared by a Tao lord that they sealed their mysterious world. This shocked countless people and made them exclaim. There were also people who recognized Su Fong. After killing so many bandits, Su Fong's reputation had long spread throughout Tao's mysterious world and the surrounding areas. At this time, there were too few cultivators in Tao's mysterious world who didn't know Su Fong. Most of the cultivators in heaven-forsaken desolation region had killed others to steal their treasures. After recognizing Su Fong's identity, many of the cultivators who were blocked outside the Tao's profound world started to have ideas about Su Fong. However, Su Fong had severely injured old monster He Xian and killed Ghost Flame Sector Lord and Divine Lord Tai Jian. Who would dare to court death? This kid is too arrogant. How dare he block Tao's mysterious world? He's courting death. He can even kill a peak Tao Lord. If Tao's sect master and grand elder don't take action, who can be his match? A cultivator who just became a Tao Lord has such heaven-defying strength. It seems that the news from Blood Valley is most likely true. So what? Just wait and see. It won't be long before Tao's sect master is alerted. At that time, no matter how heaven-defying he is, he won't be able to escape the fate of being suppressed. Everyone kept a respectful distance from Su Fong and conversed from afar. No one was not shocked by Su Fong's crazy actions. However, everyone also believed that Su Fong's actions were tantamount to courting death and would not have a good ending. Whoosh! A cloud of mist that covered an area of 1,000 feet swept through the void. It seemed slow, but it was actually as fast as lightning. Finally, it arrived outside Tao's mysterious world. Why are there so many people outside Tao's mysterious world? A surprised voice came from the depths of the cloud. The cloud suddenly shrank and disappeared, revealing two figures. One of them was a middle-aged man with a square face and sword-like eyebrows. He looked very mighty, and at the same time, there was a shrewd look in his eyes. A woman stood beside him. It was Zhong Diun, who had some dealings with Su Fong in Blood Valley. The middle-aged man brought Zhong Diun outside the mysterious world. After asking around, he figured out the whole story. When he saw Su Fong sitting cross-legged in the void, Zhong Diun was surprised and delighted. Su Fong. Then, Zhong Diun was about to go forward and greet him. The middle-aged man hurriedly stopped her. That Su Fong is extremely arrogant. He dares to openly provoke the Taoist sect in Taoist City. He will definitely die. If you go over now, won't you be asking for trouble? Zhong Diun hesitated and said, But, if Su Fong did not give the 7-colored blood lotus to me, father would already be dead. The middle-aged man's eyes flashed with shrewdness as he said embarrassedly, Su Fong is courting death by provoking the Taoist sect. He is too arrogant. He is just a Tao Lord. No matter how extraordinary his strength is, how can he challenge the Taoist sect? But what? Although he saved father's life, There is no need for us to die with him, right? The middle-aged man's words made Zhong Dian fall silent. Then, the middle-aged man stroked his beard and sighed. Father was not cautious enough in the past. That was why I was in danger in the swamp. Now, I finally understand that it is never wrong to be careful. Trust Father's judgment. Su Fang is a star of calamity now, and anyone who gets close to him will suffer misfortune. Zhong Dian hesitated for a moment, and then she gave up on this idea in the end. She stood within the crowd with her father and silently watched the situation unfold. Another half a year passed. The barrier entrance suddenly opened wide, and then a group of cultivators flew out from within the entrance in a formidable array. All of these cultivators were from the Taoist sect, and there were over 10,000 of them. The strongest amongst them was a middle-aged woman. Her face was covered in a layer of frost, and her cultivation had shockingly attained the peak of the Taoist realm. That's the Taoist sect's right, Emissary Chu. Emissary Chu has brought so many experts with her. Looks like there will be a good show to watch. A wave of exclamations of surprise resounded in the space outside the Taoist world. Zhong Dian's father grunted and said, "Just watch. Su Fang is going to suffer great misfortune now." Zhong Dian started to feel worried for Su Fang. Those cultivators of the Taoist sect flew out from the entrance and shot gazes that were filled with provocation and ridicule towards Su Fang. Su Fang spoke domineeringly. "Fuck off. Not a single member of the Taoist sect is allowed to leave the Taoist world." "How arrogant! How dare you!" The cultivators of the Taoist sect roared furiously. "Madman, do you really think the Taoist sect is afraid of you?" The Taoist sect's emissary Chu shouted coldly, and a thought flashed out. It instantly transformed into a divine might that could freeze everything, and it froze the space around Su Fang. Even Su Fang's Tao heart, willpower, and consciousness were frozen in an instant. His a ray of crimson-red flames shot out from between Su Fang's brows. He activated a 6 extreme Tao Saint thought, and it was even a thought that came from his fire element avatar. It contained supreme fire element Taoist rhyme and divine might, and it instantly transformed into a cloud of fire that melted his Tao heart and even the surrounding icy intent and aura. Huff, the cloud of fire swept out and enveloped the Taoist sect's emissary Chu. It wasn't just his physical body and avatar that were burned, even his soul was incinerated into ashes. An expert at the peak of the Taolord realm had been killed by Su Fang with such ease. Outside the Taoist world, it instantly fell into a deathly silence. QL11 Those arrogant cultivators of the Taoist sect were scared out of their wits, and they hurriedly fled back to the Taoist world. Su Fang's indifferent voice sounded. "The Taoist sect schemed against me and sent people to kill me. If you don't give me an explanation this time, no one will be able to leave the Taoist world. From now on, the Taoist world will be sealed. I'll kill every single member of the Taoist sect that comes out." He actually wanted to seal the entire Taoist world with his own strength. After witnessing Su Fang killing the Taoist sect's emissary Chu, his domineering and cold voice made many cultivators outside the Taoist world shiver. Among the crowd, Zhong Dian transmitted a message to her father using her nascent spirit. "Father, you seem to have made a mistake this time." Chapter 2762. The door to the Taoist world was closed again. Strange, why didn't the Taoist sect's peerless experts appear? Looks like the rumors about Su Fang in the Blood Valley are true. Su Fang really won all the battles and is listed on the Heavenly Profound ranking. He's protected by the Jiuxuan Heavenly Law, and experts above the Taoist sect can't attack him. A genius on the Heavenly Profound ranking. I didn't expect another peerless figure to rise in the heaven-forsaken barren region. No wonder. Looks like the Taoist sect's reputation is going to be ruined. Sealed by a Taoist lord, experts above the Taoist sect don't dare to attack, and cultivators below the Taoist sect are no match for him. The Taoist sect has dominated the heaven-forsaken barren region for so many years, and they've finally met a tough opponent. Outside the Taoist world, the cultivators recalled all the rumors about Su Fang. They used to think they were all rumors and jokes, but now they had to believe it. That Su Fang is so extraordinary that he's listed on the heavenly profound ranking. Zhong Buyun was also very shocked, and looked at Su Fang with eyes full of respect. Her father snorted coldly. Even if he's listed on the heavenly profound ranking, he can't be so arrogant. The Taoist sect is the most powerful sect in the heaven-forsaken barren region. Even if the peerless experts above the Taoist sect don't attack, they have many experts in the sect. They can drown Su Fang. As time passed, more and more people gathered outside the Taoist world. The cultivators of the heaven-forsaken barren region were afraid of offending the Taoist sect, so they kept a respectful distance from Su Fang. However, the cultivators from the other sects in the Eastern Xian divine domain came forward without hesitation, trying to befriend Su Fang. They were stopped by Qin Heng, and could only leave embarrassedly. Whoosh! Hundreds of wills poured out from the vast boundary of the Taoist world, turning into figures and flying towards Su Fang. The leader was wearing a golden crown and a golden robe. It was the Taoist sect master. Of course, it wasn't his real body but his thoughts. The figures around him were all formed by the thoughts of the Taoist sect's experts. Taoist sect leader has finally appeared. How can he not come out when a Tao monarch has sealed off his mystic world? This is going to be interesting. A commotion broke out among the cultivators in the sky. They were all ready to watch a good show. Zhongdiun's father revealed a proud expression and transmitted his thoughts to Zhongdiun. How is it? Father was right, wasn't he? Even the leader of the Taoist sect has been alarmed. Even if the Su Fang is not suppressed, they will be in big trouble. Although we are indebted to such a person, it is best to stay away from him. The thought shadow of the Taoist sect master stared at the Su Fang. His gaze was like lightning, revealing a shocking pressure of will, which instantly shrouded the Su Fang. Su Fang's body shook and immediately merged the colorful jade heart with the 6 extreme Tao saints' will, shattering the Taoist sect leader's will. The Taoist sect's master sent a voice transmission over. Looks like the information I obtained really isn't wrong. You've obtained the avatar of a Tao saint, and you've even fused with his supreme will. No wonder you possess the formidable strength to kill a peak Taoist, and no wonder the elders of the 3 sovereign profound sects are determined to obtain you. The Taoist sect knows that I have obtained the 6 extreme Tao saints' Dharma body? Su Fang was stunned. However, he was not surprised. This matter would be exposed sooner or later. Now that Su Fang was on the heavenly Xian ranking and was protected by the Jiuxuan heavenly law, he was not afraid of experts coming to snatch him. Even if the Taoist sect knew that he had the 6 extreme Tao saints' Dharma body, it did not matter. The Taoist sect leader continued to transmit his thoughts. However, if you think that you can be arrogant in the Taoist sect with a dead Dharma body, then you are wrong. You have provoked me. Even the Jiuxuan heavenly law cannot protect you. The Taoist sect was the #1 force in the heaven-forsaken barren region. It was the first time that they were being reasonable. I am arrogant? Su Fang replied with a cold smile. The Taoist sect has spread rumors and made countless bandits attack me. Moreover, the experts of the Taoist sect have personally chased after me. I have come to the Taoist sect to seek an explanation. How can I be arrogant? Moreover, so what if I am arrogant? The experts above the Taoist realm are restricted by the Jiuxuan heavenly law and do not dare to attack me. Even if they are at the peak of the upper Taoist realm, I can easily kill them. Who in the Taoist sect can stop me now? Su Fang revealed his lofty and domineering aura, and the aura of an overlord rose spontaneously. The illusory figures formed by the thoughts of the experts behind the Taoist sect all glared at Su Fang angrily. However, none of them dared to attack. It was left emissary Han who instigated the bandits to chase after you. It was not my idea. You have sealed the Taoist sect's mysterious world. Aren't you being too arrogant? QL11, however, his tone had obviously softened. He had no choice but to do so. Just as Su Fang had said, the Taoist sect really could not do anything to Su Fang now. Left Emissary Han? Su Fang snorted. Left Emissary Han is from the Taoist sect. Naturally, the Taoist sect should be responsible for what he has done. The Taoist sect's sect master transmitted his voice. What do you want? Su Fang said. That will depend on what kind of explanation the sect master will give to me, Su Fang. Just as the two were communicating with their divine thoughts, the numerous cultivators who were watching from afar were extremely shocked. How overbearing was the Taoist sect in the heaven-forsaken wilderness! They originally thought that the appearance of the Taoist sect's sect master would inevitably lead to an earth-shattering battle. Unexpectedly, the Taoist sect's sect master had no intention of attacking. Instead, he started to reason with Su Fang. In the heaven-forsaken wilderness, the biggest reason was one's fist. Whoever's fist was bigger was the reason. The only explanation for the Taoist sect's sect master reasoning with Su Fang was that Su Fang's fist was big enough that the Taoist sect had no choice but to swallow their anger. Everyone was shocked and communicated with their divine thought. Zhong Diyun transmitted her voice to her father. Father, it seems that your judgment is still wrong. Even the Taoist sect's sect master can't do anything to Su Fang. The middle-aged man's expression stiffened, but he still refused to admit that he had misjudged this time. How can my eyes be wrong? Just wait and see. After a while, Su Fang will be suppressed by the Taoist sect. The Taoist sect's sect master pondered for a while. Suddenly, he took out a storage ring and swept it towards Su Fang with a surge of divine power. Su Fang sent his consciousness into the storage ring and found that there were 100,000 mid-grade elixirs inside. Such a large amount of elixirs was definitely a big deal in the heaven-forsaken wilderness. It was enough to tempt the experts who surpassed the Tao Master. The Taoist sect's sect master said in a low voice, "Such compensation should be enough to satisfy you, right?" Of course not. Su Fang kept the storage ring, but he still refused to give up. The Taoist sect's sect master raised his eyebrows. What else do you want? Su Fang said casually, "Since it was left Emissary Han who did it, you have to hand over the culprit, right?" The Taoist sect's sect master flew into a rage. Su Fang, don't push your luck. Sect master, if you don't even agree to such a small condition, then I can only stay here and wait for left Emissary Han to come out. Or I can directly enter the Taoist sect's mysterious world and capture left Emissary Han. At that time, the Taoist sect's reputation in the heaven-forsaken wilderness will be severely damaged. You win. The Taoist sect's sect master clenched his teeth and grabbed the air. A surge of divine power that surpassed the peak of the Tao Master swept a figure out of the vast boundary and landed in front of the Taoist sect master. It was left Emissary Han of the Taoist sect. He also realized that the situation was not good and shouted loudly, "Lord Sect Master, you must help me." Taoist sect master said, "You spread rumors and instigated the bandits to attack Su Fang. You even tried to work with Black Heart Old Monster and Ghost Flame Sector Master to kill Su Fang. Su Fang is a peerless genius on the heavenly profound ranking, yet you treat him like this. How can I tolerate this? Sovereign, you." Left Emissary Han turned pale with fright. Boom. A supreme will gushed out from the phantom formed by World Lord Wudao's thoughts and attacked left Emissary Han's Tao heart and soul. Taoist sect master was a supreme expert who had surpassed Taoist Lord. Under the suppression of his supreme will, Zhua Emissary Han's Tao heart and soul were instantly shattered, leaving only his corpse floating in the void. Su Fang, the Taoist profound world does not welcome you. Why haven't you left yet? The Taoist sect master shouted coldly. With a flash of thought, He turned into a beam of divine light and disappeared into the boundless enchantment. The phantoms of the other Taoist sect warriors also disappeared. So what if you're the number one force in the heaven-forsaken wilderness? You still have to bow down to me. Su Fang sucked left emissary Han's corpse into his body and smiled domineeringly. Whoosh! All the cultivators who were watching from afar were shocked, and they all cried out in surprise. Many gazes filled with awe fell on Su Fang. Zhong Diyun's father was dumbfounded. He had never imagined that this would be the result. The number one force in the heaven-forsaken wilderness was forced by a Taoist lord to kill the leader of the force. How shocking and subversive was this? Zhong Diyun could not help but smile when she saw her father's expression. "Father, I think you've made a mistake this time." The middle-aged man suddenly woke up from his daze and urged Zhong Diyun anxiously. "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and go over." Zhong Diyun smiled. "Father, didn't you ask me not to go over and meet Su Fang just now? Who said I didn't want you to meet him? Not only do you have to meet him, but you also have to think of ways to get closer to him. If he can become my son-in-law, that would be the best thing." Father, by the time they reacted, Su Fang had already activated the flaming cloud flying carriage and left the Taoist profound world. Zhong Diyun's father regretted missing the opportunity to become friends with Su Fang. After Su Fang left, he went straight to Luhan Island. After Mystery's divine body was reconstructed, she disappeared to cultivate in the serene pool, which made Su Fang very worried. At this time, Su Fang's strength had increased greatly. He planned to go deep into the serene pool to search for Mystery's whereabouts. About 10 years later. Chapter 2763. When he approached Luhan Isle, Su Fang immediately sensed that Luhan Isle was very different from before. He did not know what had happened, but the coldness around Luhan Isle was more than 10 times thinner than before. Regular cultivators basically did not need to expend much effort to enter the material inside Luhan Isle. I wonder what happened. Please don't let it have anything to do with Gloomy. Su Fang became nervous for some reason. He sped up and passed through the streams of coldness, entering the space above the material. He looked over. With his great perfection vision, he immediately saw the entire material. Su Fang's eyebrows furrowed when he saw the scene. Something really has happened. Most of the lakes and ponds in the material had actually dried up now. Only the largest lake that the Gloomwater sect controlled in the past and a few large ponds remained. However, they had shrunk by more than half. A 3-meter-long black bead hovered above the material. Although the bead wasn't big, it was constantly releasing amazing divine power, crazily sucking in the cold aura of the lake and the pond water below. That black bead mystic treasure was shockingly a peak top-grade mystic treasure. The space within it was incomparably vast, and it was constantly devouring the cold energy of Drifting Cold Island. Sooner or later, it would completely devour Drifting Cold Island. Over 100 cultivators sat in the air around the black bead Xian Bao, guarding the bead. These cultivators were clearly not cultivators of Luhan Isle. No one knew where they came from. There was a Daolord among them, but he was an ordinary Daolord. The others were Daolords and Daolords. A force like this could be considered extraordinary in the heaven-forsaken desolation region. However, Su Fang did not take them seriously. Su Fang did not alarm the cultivators. He used the life-shrinking technique and projected his ability to sense fate. One. Very soon, Su Fang sensed the aura of fate of the Gloomwater sect master. He immediately sent out his soul sense, "Gloomwater sect master, come see me immediately." When Su Fang left Luhan Isle, he had suppressed Gloomwater sect master because he was afraid that something would happen to Gloomwater sect in the depths of Gloomwater abyss. Su Fang, no, master, you've actually returned? The master of the Gloomwater sect was both surprised and stunned. Very soon, he flew over from the material plane. My master! The master of the Gloomwater sect clasped his fist at Su Fang before secretly using his senses to sense Su Fang. When he discovered that Su Fang was already an inferior Daolord, the master of the Gloomwater sect was shocked at first. However, a smear of disdain flashed through his eyes. Although the sect master's expression was extremely obscure, it was unable to escape Su Fang's senses. The master of the Gloomwater sect has actually become disloyal. Su Fang's heart surged with a fierce aura. Afterwards, Su Fang sensed an extremely powerful seal seed in the Gloomwater sect master's palace. However, the seal seed that Su Fang had used to restrain his palace had been removed. However, Su Fang used the power of fate from the life-shrinking technique of the heavenly secret, so the seal that restrained the master of the Gloomwater sect's fate remained intact. As it turned out, the master of the Gloomwater sect had actually been controlled by someone. Clearly, the people controlling him were those cultivators of unknown origins. Su Fang looked at the cultivators around the black bead Xian Bao and asked indifferently, "Which organization do those people come from? Is it worth it for you to betray me?" The master of the Gloomwater sect was surprised. Afterwards, he smiled indifferently and said, "They're experts from the Boundless sect from the Boundless Sea." Su Fang raised an eyebrow coldly. The Boundless Sea? The Boundless sect? There were countless organizations in the heaven-forsaken wilderness region, so Su Fang naturally did not know about the Boundless sect. At this moment, Qin Heng's voice rang out from within the Xian Wang avatar. "Master, I do know about the Boundless sect. They're quite a powerful organization in the heaven-forsaken wilderness region. They're on par with the Ghost Flame Profound world as a whole. The master of the Boundless sect is called Master Jackdaw. He's a peak Daolord. He's a renowned figure in the heaven-forsaken wilderness region." Master Jackdaw, peak Daolord, Su Fang snickered inside. Seeing how Su Fang remained silent, the master of the Gloomwater sect became complacent. "Do you know fear now? The Luhan Isle has already become the territory of the young master of the Boundless sect. I'm already a hall master under the young master of the Boundless sect." Su Fang said indifferently, "Aren't you afraid that I'll directly kill you?" The master of the Gloomwater sect sneered. "The imprint you used to restrain me has already been erased by the Daolord experts under the young master of the Boundless sect. What can you do to me? Moreover, I'm a member of the Boundless sect right now. Do you even dare touch a hair on my head?" Su Fang had used the life-shrinking technique to restrain the master of the Gloomwater sect's fate. With the master's strength, he obviously struggled to sense it. He still did not understand that Su Fang only needed a thought to control his fate. He could even easily wipe it out and make him completely vanish from the world. The master of the Gloomwater sect said, "Seeing how you're an extraordinary genius, I'm willing to recommend you to the young master. Otherwise, since you've come to the Luhan Isle, it won't be so easy for you to leave." "Recommend me to the young master of the Boundless sect?" Su Fang was stunned. He would get some information from the master of the Gloomwater sect first. Afterwards, he asked, "The young master of the Boundless sect used the presence of the Gloomwater abyss to refine the Xian Bao. Did he discover anything strange in the Gloomwater abyss?" The master of the Gloomwater sect said, "You're still in the mood to worry about that?" "That's right. When the young master of the Boundless sect was refining the Xian Bao, not only did he obtain countless Origin Immortal Water and Origin Immortal Mud in the Gloomwater abyss, but he also discovered an extremely powerful beast." "Beast?" "That's right. It's an extremely rare beast, the inky unicorn oolong. Only a place as cold as the Gloomwater abyss can give birth to such an extraordinary beast. The beast's strength was extraordinary. It injured many experts of the Boundless sect. In the end, the young master used a powerful talisman to injure it, and it dove into the depths of the Gloomwater abyss. There's actually such a beast hidden in the Gloomwater abyss. Did something happen to the Gloomwater abyss?" Su Fang's heart suddenly sank. At this moment, A pillar of water suddenly shot out from the depths of the gloom water abyss, rushing towards the black bead in the air, the Xian Bao. The surrounding cultivators all struck out, shattering the pillar of water. Swish, swish, swish. Over a dozen cultivators flew out from the material and into the air. The leader was a young man in white robes. There were patterns of ripples on his robes. The young man was extraordinarily handsome. His expression was arrogant as he gave off a condescending aura. QL11, however, the young man's cultivation was not high. He was only at the upper Tao truth realm. The Gloomwater sect master said to Su Fang, "That's the young master of the Boundless sect. Hurry up and come with me. With my recommendation, the young master might be happy and let you join the Boundless sect. That's your supreme fortune. Let's go." Su Fang was about to take the black bead for the Xian Bao. He wanted to use the Xian Bao to enter the depths of the Gloomwater abyss and search for Gloomwater's traces. As a result, Su Fang slowly flew over with the Gloomwater sect master. "You were his previous master?" After hearing the Gloomwater sect master's introduction, the young master of the Boundless sect looked down on Su Fang in disdain. Before Su Fang could speak, the young master of the Boundless sect continued, "I heard that you're rather extraordinary. However, in my eyes, you're no different from an ant. Since you've submitted to me of your own accord, I'll give you a chance. Follow me and serve me for now." The Gloomwater sect master revealed an envious expression. He hurriedly said to Su Fang, "Hurry up and thank the young master." Su Fang rubbed his nose and sneered inside. He was about to kill and steal the treasure. Suddenly, the Gloomwater in the lake below suddenly churned violently. A black beast charged out from the depths of the lake, lunging towards the boundless young master. The beast seemed like a divine dragon. It was 1,000 feet long, but it had the head of a qilin. The beast gave off a cold and vicious aura. As soon as it appeared from the Gloomwater, it immediately sank into coldness. A layer of ice immediately formed on it. This beast was the inky qilin and oolong that the Gloomwater sect master had mentioned. Hum, hum, hum. The inky qilin and oolong gave off an aura. It actually caused the Taoist inscriptions from the life-shrinking technique within Su Fang's Jiuquan Dao Palace to flicker rapidly. In the end, it transformed into a clear figure. To his surprise, it was Shroud that Su Fang had been worried about. Su Fang was both surprised and stunned. He focused his gaze and discovered a figure on the back of the inky qilin and oolong. Who else could it be but Shroud? Roar! The inky qilin and oolong roared furiously. An extremely cold aura instantly froze the spacetime of the entire Cold Drift Isle. Even the consciousness, Taoist heart, and soul felt like it had been frozen. Protect the young master. The Taoist lord of the Boundless sect released a strand of consciousness. It transformed into a barrier that blocked the inky qilin and oolong. Boom! The inky qilin and oolong smashed its head against the barrier, shattering it. However, it was also sent flying by the backlash of the barrier. Suddenly Ghost, who was on the back of the black dragon, suddenly shot out a white and cold mystic light from between his eyebrows and paused in the air. It turned out to be a painting. The painting unfolded, and the scene within could be seen. White snow was drifting about, and a small boat was floating on a frozen river. An old man was fishing on the boat. It looked like a very ordinary painting, but it gave Su Fang a feeling that it was even more terrifying than a peak supreme grade Xian Guang. Shroud's gaze landed on the Taoist lord of the Boundless sect, and he pointed at the painting. The old man in the picture suddenly moved. He raised his fishing rod and swung it fiercely. The Taoist lord of the Boundless sect felt a fatal threat enveloping his entire body. His divine light instantly changed, and he executed a movement technique to escape. Chi! A transparent fishing line shot out from the painting and landed directly on the Taoist lord of the Boundless sect. The golden hook entered his body. Then, the fisherman in the painting retracted his fishing rod. The fishing line trembled, and the hook flew out from the Taoist lord of the boundless sect. There was an illusory figure on the hook. It was his origin soul. The soul struggled madly on the hook, and let out shrill screams. However, he couldn't escape no matter what. In the end, he was sucked into the painting and fell into the fish basket beside the fisherman. The Taoist lord of the boundless sect lost his soul and became a living corpse. He fell into the lake below. Chapter 2764. Mystery's extraordinary Xian Bao shocked Su Fang. With his current strength, he could easily kill a Tao Lord even if he didn't use his trump card. However, Mystery was different. It had only been a few years since Mystery reconstructed his divine body. It was truly inconceivable that he could kill a Tao Lord. It was mainly because of that Xian Bao. It was extraordinary. It was truly extraordinary. The cultivators from the boundless sect were also shocked by the strange and powerful might displayed by the painting. The boundless sect's young master looked at the painting. His eyes shone brightly, filled with endless greed. He shouted to his subordinates, "What a treasure! What a treasure! Hurry up and give it to me!" Su Fang was both shocked and stunned. The boundless sect's most powerful Tao Lord had been killed. Not only did the boundless sect's young master not plan on fleeing, but he even wanted to steal Mystery's treasure. Moreover, it gave Su Fang the feeling that as long as it was a treasure he fancied, he could take it as he pleased. It seemed like this young man was also an idiot who was used to being arrogant and domineering. The Gloomwater sect's sect master trembled. "Young master, the enemy is powerful. Young master, you should retreat for now," the boundless sect's young master shouted domineeringly. "Who am I? I am the boundless sect's young master. Master Jackdaw is my father. Who dares to touch a single hair on my head?" As soon as he finished speaking, roar! The Inkchilan Oolong roared wildly. Under Mystery's control, it charged into the boundless sect's cultivators. The Inkchilan Oolong's strength was truly astonishing. It was comparable to an ordinary Tao Lord. Not only could the cold chi it spat out restrict the physical body and freeze the cultivator's thoughts and divine abilities, but it also had the ability to freeze the Tao Lord's will and origin soul. The boundless sect's most powerful Tao Lord had been killed by Mystery's Xian Bao. The other cultivators were no match for the Inkchilan Oolong. It spat out cold chi again and again, killing over a dozen powerful Tao Lords. The rest fled frantically. The boundless sect's young master had no intention of running for his life. Instead, he looked at Mystery with a domineering and arrogant expression, as if saying, "You're dead. You controlled the Inky Unicorn and Black Dragon to defeat the other boundless sect cultivators." He directly sealed the Black Pearl Xian Bao and sucked it into the Tao Palace before charging over. "You, go tell that person who this young master is." The boundless sect's young master coldly shouted at Su Fang. Su Fang was speechless. In a place as dangerous as the heaven-forsaken desolate region, it was truly a miracle that an idiot like the boundless sect's young master could survive until now. The master of the Gloomwater sect bellowed at Su Fang. "Didn't you hear what the young master said? How dare you defy young master's orders? Do you want to die?" A vicious light flashed through Su Fang's eyes. A presence of slaughter erupted from his heart, surging out from his body and enveloping the master of the Gloomwater sect immediately. Just how shocking was the strength of Su Fang's blood fury avatar right now? However, the master of the Gloomwater sect was only a Tao Lord. Under the impact of Su Fang's fierce presence of slaughter, his Tao heart immediately shattered. He let out a miserable cry and fell down. "How dare you betray me? You deserve death." The boundless sect's young master was shocked at first before he roared thunderously. "Fool!" Su Fang grabbed at the air, and a divine might enveloped the young master of the boundless sect. He was about to suppress him. Little did he know that as soon as the divine might touched the body of the boundless sect's young master, an incomparably powerful aura surged out of his body, shattering Su Fang's divine might. Then, a barrier of light formed around his body, protecting him tightly. One could vaguely make out that the barrier was an old man. It enveloped the young master of the boundless sect and emanated a vast presence and intent of the ways. Surprisingly, it was formed from the thoughts of a peak upper Dowlord. It possessed powerful defenses, and even upper Dowlords would find it very difficult to break through. Su Fong was stunned. So the young master of the boundless sect had methods to protect himself. No wonder he was so arrogant. The old man's figure spoke in a domineering manner. "I'm Lord Jackdaw of the boundless sea. I don't know who you are, but I'll definitely skin you alive for daring to harm my beloved son." The young master of the boundless sect said complacently, "Do you know how powerful I am now? Humph. Just you wait. My father is already on his way to Luhan Isle. Once his main body arrives, he'll definitely teach you a lesson." Shroud flew over on the black dragon. "Su Fong, you've finally come back to see me." The black dragon looked at Su Fong coldly. When it sensed the presence of slaughter on him, fear flashed through its eyes that were as deep as an abyss. It roared out a few times in agitation. Shroud flew out from the black dragon's back and came to Su Fong's side. "Boy, my strength has increased greatly now. I can even kill a Dao Lord expert with ease. Did I scare you?" Su Fong sensed Shroud's cultivation base and found that it wasn't high. It was only at the upper Dao True Realm. It wasn't at its peak yet. However, his body contained a type of extremely cold aura that caused Su Fong to feel a wave of apprehension. Obviously, Shroud had obtained a supreme fortune in the depths of the Gloomwater abyss. Shroud also sensed Su Fong's cultivation base. He nodded and said, "Dao Lord Realm? Not bad. But compared to me, you're still lacking a lot." Humph. The genius of the Pand Song universe actually caught up with me and surpassed me. I've been very unhappy for many years. Now I've finally surpassed you. Su Fong rubbed his nose and didn't say anything. Compared to the majority of cultivators, you're quite extraordinary. Don't be discouraged. Shroud patted Su Fong's shoulder and comforted him. However, there was an unconcealable pride in his tone. Back then, in the Prison Suppression Codex, Shroud was a transcendent expert, while Su Fong was still an insignificant ant. In the end, Su Fong rose against the heavens and far surpassed Shroud. How could Shroud endure this? QL11, although his cultivation base wasn't as good as Su Fong's, he had an extraordinary Xian Bao and a strange beast. He could easily kill a Dao Lord. Shroud was naturally very proud and couldn't help but show off in front of Su Fong. At this time, the boundless sect's young master sneered disdainfully. "Humph. In front of my father, your strength is nothing. My father can kill you 10 times over with just a thought." Shroud's icy gaze swept past the boundless sect's young master's thought image, and his eyes flashed with wariness and even fear. "Su Fong, this kid's background is extraordinary. Leave quickly, or else we'll be in big trouble." Shroud hurriedly urged Su Fong. Then, he summoned his ink unicorn and oolong and was about to quickly leave Driftwood Isle. The boundless sect's young master sneered arrogantly. "You only want to leave now? It's too late. My father is about to arrive at Driftwood Isle. With his strength, you can't leave at all. Obediently kneel down and kowtow to this young master, spit out this young master's treasures, and then offer your painting treasure to this young master with both hands. Perhaps this young master will be happy and spare the lives of both of you." Su Fong asked casually, "Is your father very powerful?" The boundless sect's young master said proudly, "Powerful? My father, Master Jackdaw, is a peerless expert at the peak of the upper Dowlord realm. He's invincible in the heaven-forsaken desolate region. Even the Dowlord sect's master has to be polite to my father. Tell me, isn't he powerful? Peak of the upper Dowlord realm?" Shroud's pupils suddenly constricted, revealing shock and horror. He urged Su Fong, "Leave quickly." Su Fong said indifferently, "There's no hurry. Tell me first, how did you enter the depths of the Gloomwater abyss, and how did you obtain such an extraordinary xian bao and exotic beast? Seeing Su Fang's fearless appearance, Shroud wasn't surprised and secretly sent a voice transmission to Su Fang. Could it be that you secretly used a forbidden technique on that kid? But on second thought, Su Fang possessed all sorts of extraordinary abilities, and he even had the supreme ability to control fate. He could silently shackle the boundless sex young master. Even if he had an enormous backer, Su Fang was naturally not afraid. Su Fang nodded and replied, "Sort of." Only then did Shroud feel relieved. Then, he slowly told Su Fang about his encounters over the years. It turned out that after Shroud's divine body was reconstructed, he cultivated in the Gloomwater pool. In order to obtain the best cultivation results, he kept going deeper into the pool and unknowingly entered the depths of the Gloomwater abyss. Shroud's divine body was reconstructed by the origin god Clay, so the cold energy and shackles in the depths of the Gloomwater abyss could hardly affect him. In the depths of the Gloomwater abyss, Shroud kept going deeper and deeper and inadvertently discovered a cave abode in the depth. It turned out that it was a peerless expert called Ancestor Blackwater. One of his avatars was being hunted down by his enemies and was heavily injured. He fled to the depths of the Gloomwater abyss and opened up a cave abode to recuperate. Later on, this avatar died in the cave abode and left behind an inheritance. Shroud obtained Ancestor Blackwater's inheritance, but he was trapped in the cave abode for a while and couldn't come out. It wasn't until Shroud fused a part of the xian bao that he came out of the cave abode. That inky unicorn and oolong was a strange beast born in the depths of the Gloomwater abyss and was suppressed by Shroud with the help of the xian bao. When Shroud was preparing to leave the Gloomwater abyss, Luhan Island was occupied by the young master of the Boundless sect. He used the black bead to absorb the cold energy of the Gloomwater abyss to refine the xian bao. The young master of the Boundless sect had many experts under his command and possessed extremely powerful rune talismans. Even the inky unicorn and oolong were injured by the rune talismans, so Shroud had no choice but to hide in the depths of the Gloomwater abyss. It wasn't until now that Shroud finally fused more than half of the Blackwater Soul fishing diagram and was able to activate more than half of the xian bao's power that he came out of the depths of the Gloomwater abyss. Su Fang sighed and said, "It seems that you are also a person with great luck. Your future achievements are limitless." Shroud said proudly, "Of course. Do you think that you are the only one with great luck? Although my current cultivation isn't as good as yours, I will definitely surpass you in the future. You should obediently call me senior like before." Su Fang laughed. Suddenly the cold currents outside Luhan Island tumbled violently. A figure forcefully and domineeringly tore through the cold currents and charged into the inner space like a bolt of lightning. Shroud's expression changed greatly. "That Boundless sect's Master Jackdaw is here so quickly. Father, come save me." The young master of the Boundless sect revealed an excited expression and shouted loudly. Then he laughed proudly at Su Fang and Shroud. "My father is here. You are all dead. I want to see which reckless fool dares to be so arrogant in the heaven-forsaken desolate region. He even dares to look down on me." Chapter 2765. My good son, don't be afraid. I'm here. If anyone dares to bully you, I'll break their neck. The old man comforted the Boundless sect's young master with a benevolent look on his face. The old man wore a black feather robe, which had been refined from one feather after another. It emanated a sinister, cold aura. The old man's face was thin, and he had a hooked nose. His eyes shone with a domineering and untamed light. At this moment, he was like a vulture that had been enraged by the injury of its chick. His entire body radiated a terrifying, violent aura. A peak-level Tao Lord. Mystery's face instantly turned ghastly pale, and her entire body trembled. She hurriedly sent a voice transmission to Su Fang. Su Fong, Ink Unicorn, Oolong, and I will try to stall Master Jackdaw for a moment. You run as fast as you can into the depths of the lake." Su Fong shook his head and smiled. Su Fong looked at Master Jackdaw and said indifferently, "You're Master Jackdaw?" "That's right. I am Master Jackdaw." The old man's voice was majestic and cold, and he looked down on the world with disdain. "How dare you? You even dare to bully my beloved son. Tell me, how do you plan to die?" Ugh! Master Jackdaw looked at Su Fong, his eyes cold and cruel. He looked like he was about to release his will and tear Su Fong and Mystery to shreds. But who knew? When he saw Su Fong's face, Master Jackdaw was first stunned. Then, shock and terror flashed through his eyes. Then, like a chicken that had been choked by the neck, his words came to a screeching halt. All that was left was his muffled voice. The boundless sex young master became arrogant again. "Father, not only did they refuse to give their treasures to me, they even killed people from the boundless sect and stole my treasures. Father, you have to give me justice. You have to rip out their tendons and skin them." Su Fong looked at Master Jackdaw, a hint of a smile on his face. In Master Jackdaw's eyes, Su Fong's expression was like a ferocious beast baring its fangs at him. Master Jackdaw shuddered, and a chill ran down his spine. Master Jackdaw didn't dare look at Su Fong again. He stammered, that, son, I just remembered that I have an appointment with the Taoist sect's leader. Please come with me." "Father, it won't be too late to kill these two first. These two are truly hateful. Not only did they steal this child's treasure, but they also killed the people of the boundless sect. Even after I revealed my identity, they still wanted to kill me. They are clearly looking down on Father. If I don't ruthlessly punish them, wouldn't it damage Father's reputation?" The boundless sect's young master said in surprise. However, he still didn't realize that there was anything wrong. Then, he pointed at Su Fong, gritted his teeth and shouted, "Especially this brat. Father, I want you to strip off his soul and torture him with cold energy in the depths of the boundless sea for 1,000,000 years. Otherwise, I won't be able to get rid of the resentment in my heart." Su Fong laughed lightly. "Is that so?" Master Jackdaw's forehead was covered in sweat. He thundered at the boundless sect's young master, "Shut up! Father has repeatedly warned you that when you are outside, you must be kind to others and not use your power to bully others. However, you have never listened to me. It must be that you have done something wrong first, and that is why you have angered them." The boundless sect's young master was both shocked and stunned. He looked at Master Jackdaw with an innocent expression. "Father, didn't you always say that whether it was in the boundless sect or outside, as long as I saw a treasure I liked, I should take it back? You wouldn't let a single beautiful woman go, and if anything happened, you would take responsibility for everything? Shut up! When did I ever say that to you? You little bastard, are you really my son or not? How could you trick me like this?" Master Jackdaw was both shocked and furious. He slapped the boundless sect's young master across the face. The boundless sect's young master spat out a mouthful of blood. He stared at Master Jackdaw in shock, as if he was seeing him for the first time. Mystery was confused as well. Was there something wrong with Master Jackdaw's brain? Strange, far too strange. Master Jackdaw unleashed a wave of divine might and was about to take the boundless sect's young master away when Su Fong suddenly spoke up. "Did I say you could leave?" Master Jackdaw's body trembled. He squeezed out a smile and said shakily, "Su Fong Da, my son was blind and offended you. Please don't lower yourself to his level, Master Jackdaw, who had been so majestic and insufferably arrogant just a moment ago. The boundless sect's young master and a peak-level upper Lord expert was now as obedient as a kitten or puppy." Mystery's eyes nearly popped out of her head. Her mind was in complete chaos. The boundless sect's young master was completely dazed. He stared blankly at Su Fong, unable to understand why Master Jackdaw, who he thought was invincible in the heaven-forsaken desolation region, would be so afraid of this puny Tao Lord. Su Fang said, "I almost killed your son earlier. Aren't you going to avenge him?" Master Jackdaw hurriedly said, "If this little bastard was killed by someone from Su Fangdao, then that's his supreme good fortune. Otherwise, how could he have the right to die at the hands of someone from Su Fangdao?" Mystery had just recovered her wits when Master Jackdaw's words struck her like a bolt of lightning in her head. The boundless sex young master stared blankly at Master Jackdaw. For a moment, an extremely strange thought appeared in his mind. Is this old bastard an impostor? Did he team up with that kid to trick me? Su Fang continued, "My friend killed someone from your boundless sect, but you're not going to do anything about it." Master Jackdaw's face filled with smiles. "Friends from the boundless sect and Su Fangda can kill as many as they want. If your friend hasn't killed enough, then I'll immediately call over some more from the boundless sect. Your friend can kill as many as he wants." Mystery and the boundless sect's young master's minds were in complete chaos. Su Fang continued, "My friend also stole your son's Xian Bao." Master Jackdaw hurriedly said, "If a friend from Su Fangda can have that Xian Bao, it will definitely shine brilliantly. This is also the Xian Bao's supreme good fortune." Su Fang nodded. "At least you know what's good for you. I won't make things difficult for you and your son." Master Jackdaw was shocked and overjoyed. He repeatedly thanked Su Fang. Unexpectedly, Su Fang continued, "I'll be staying in the heaven-forsaken desolate region for a while, and I just so happen to be lacking a guide. Why don't you stay by my side and act as my guide? What do you think?" Master Jackdaw looked troubled, but when he saw Su Fang's expression, he had no choice but to bite the bullet and agree. Just like that, the boundless sect master, Master Jackdaw, became Su Fang's guide. Mystery couldn't hold it in any longer. He asked, "Su Fang, did you get lucky again? Did you gain the favor of some peerless expert and gain a powerful backer?" The boundless sect's young master couldn't help but feel puzzled. He transmitted his voice to Master Jackdaw through his nascent spirit. "Father, could that kid be from the three supreme profound sects? Even if Su Fang really did find a powerful backer, a peak Tao Lord like Master Jackdaw would at most treat him with respect. They definitely wouldn't fear Su Fang to such an extent." However, Mystery and the boundless sect's young master couldn't figure out what was going on. Why would Master Jackdaw treat Su Fang with such reverence? They could only assume that Su Fang had a powerful backer, and that was why Master Jackdaw had no choice but to fear him. Master Jackdaw glanced at Su Fang. Terror seeped out of his deep eyes, but he didn't dare say anything. Su Fang said casually, "Actually, it's nothing much. I just killed a few peak Daolords not long ago and blocked the barrier to Daolord's profound world." His Mystery and the boundless sect's young master both gasped. In the heaven-forsaken desolation region, peak Daolords weren't cabbages that could be found by the roadside. They were supreme existences that countless cultivators had to look up to. Only a small number of peak experts who'd surpassed Daolord could stand above them. Su Fang had actually killed a few of them with such ease. What shocked the two of them the most was that the Daolord sect was the #1 power in the heaven-forsaken desolation region. Who would dare to seal off Daolord's profound world? Even those peerless experts who'd surpassed Daolord wouldn't dare to do so, let alone Su Fang, who was merely a Daolord. Shocking! Waves surged in his heart. Master Jackdaw smiled bitterly in his heart. "I personally witnessed Su Fang kill Daolord sect's envoy Chu as easily as killing a chicken. I also personally saw the Daolord sect's sect master lower his head to him. If you saw it as well, you'd probably be scared to death." Then, he wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. "Fortunately, I'm smart. Otherwise, how could I have survived? That Su Fang is a killing machine. Moreover, he's even more overbearing than Bandit. He's not someone to be trifled with, and I don't dare to offend him." The boundless young master was terrified. He wasn't an idiot. He'd already realized that he'd almost killed his father this time. Mystery looked at Su Fang with a helpless expression. Just a moment ago, he'd been extremely proud of himself for being able to surpass Su Fang. Who knew? Compared to Su Fang, what was the bit of fortune he'd obtained and the strength he possessed now? Mystery shook his head and said, "Forget it. I've seen through it now. Compared to you, kid, I'm just asking for trouble. There's no way to compare, there's no way to compare." Su Fang smiled embarrassedly. "No matter what, you're still Su Fang's senior." Master Jackdaw hurriedly cupped his fists and bowed to Mystery. "Jackdaw greets senior. That's more like it." Mystery instantly felt honored. The disappointment in his heart instantly disappeared. Then, he asked Su Fang, "What do you plan to do next?" "Next, I should go to ancient Blue City and settle some grudges." Su Fang's expression turned cold. Then, Su Fang used his divine consciousness to tell Mystery about his encounter with the Celestial Venerable's Destiny Dharma body on the Blood Slaughter platform in the second slaughter city of the Blood Valley. "That old bastard still hasn't given up on his evil intentions," Mystery snorted coldly. After thinking for a moment, Mystery transmitted his voice to Su Fang. "Su Fang, I won't be going to ancient Blue City. You won't come with me. I'm going to go out and explore. In the cave abode in Gloomwater Abyss, I received Ancestor Blackwater's inheritance. Now I can be considered his successor. Before his Dharma body died, he left behind his last words for me to find his true body. Senior, take care." Su Fang didn't try to dissuade him anymore. Mystery clearly didn't want to meet the Celestial Venerable again. After all, he was the Celestial Venerable's son. Chapter 2766. Shroud left as soon as he spoke, and he was carried out of Coldstream Isle and vanished without a trace. "I wonder how many more years it'll take for me to meet Shroud again." Su Fang suddenly had an empty feeling in his heart. However, he was very clearly aware that everyone's path of cultivation was different. It wasn't just Shroud, it was the same for Shu Wanjin, Luo Xuanxin, Qin Yu, and the Big Goblin. Perhaps following Su Fang would allow them to be safe for their entire lives, and they wouldn't lack cultivation resources. However, this was absolutely not true cultivation, and it was even more difficult to find the true essence of the Grand Tao, so their future accomplishments would be extremely limited. Cultivators should overcome all obstacles and ceaselessly surpass their limits, and it was absolutely not for the sake of enjoyment. It's time to head to ancient Azure City and meet the exalted Heavenly Lord Pan Song. Su Fang quickly discarded the sense of loss in his heart, and then he withdrew Flame Cloud and flew out of Coldstream Isle with Master Jackdaw. Over 10 days after Su Fang left, a figure appeared out of thin air in the sky above Coldstream Isle. There were no traces, no passageways, and no formations. It was like teleportation with a thought. Teleportation with a thought was very simple. After all, one's will and consciousness weren't restrained by space and time. It was much more difficult to teleport with the body, and only peerless experts who'd surpassed the Taolord realm or formidable cultivators who'd grasped the grand Tao of space could accomplish this. As soon as this figure appeared, it instantly shackled Coldstream Isle's space and time, space, and everything else seemed to have fallen into a motionless state. It was a black-clothed young man, and he seemed to be even younger than Su Fang. He seemed to be 17 at most, but he had a face that was exquisite like a woman's. The young man's cultivation wasn't very high, and he was only at the upper Taolord realm. However, he emanated the aura of a ruler that was even more shocking than an expert at the peak of the upper Taolord realm. A thought suddenly flashed from the center of the black-clothed young man's forehead, and it transformed into the might of time that instantly enveloped Coldstream Isle. Strands of light were ceaselessly changing within his eyes, and it was shockingly the events that had occurred earlier. This black-robed youth was actually able to use the supreme great path of time with just his thoughts. He looked into the past. Such a heaven-defying ability was truly incredible. In the end, the scene in the young man's eyes was fixed on Su Fang's figure. Then, the young man's eyes flashed with the illusory image of Su Fang, which fell into the void in front of him. Then, the black-clothed youth took out a xian guang from his palm, and a figure appeared. It was a young man with sword-like eyebrows, starry eyes, and a high nose bridge. He was the Feng clan's three supreme mysterious sects disciple, Feng Zhenhua. In front of the black-robed youth, Feng Zhenhua had completely lost his usual domineering aura. All that was left was reverence. The black-clothed youth pointed at the picture scroll and lightly asked, "Is he Su Fang?" "Senior brother, this person is indeed Su Fang," Feng Zhenhua replied respectfully. "It seems that Su Fang didn't go far. This time, no matter what, we can't let him get away again." The black-clothed youth took out a silver mirror. It was the royal grade xian guang sky searching mirror that Zhu Xian Granny had used before. Feng Zhenhua flattered, "Senior brother Gu Tianqi has the first elder's sky searching mirror. This time, even if Su Fang escapes to the depths of the chaos, he won't be able to escape senior brother Gu Tianqi's grasp. Don't underestimate Su Fang." The black-clothed youth shook his head and said, "Even elder Zhu Xian couldn't suppress him, and he won 100 battles on the Second Slaughter City's blood slaughter arena. Even Dong Xianjun was defeated by him. How can such a person be simple?" Feng Zhenhua snorted, "That's because elder Zhu Xian was too careless. Dong Xianjun, on the other hand, doesn't live up to his reputation. Senior brother Gu Tianqi is the #1 disciple of our three supreme mysterious sects, a peerless genius on the heavenly profound ranking and earth ranking. If it weren't for the fact that young Master Zhangsun Yaoyang was killed, and the first elder was enraged, why would senior brother Gu Tianqi personally take action?" Gu Tianqi, the #1 disciple of the three supreme mysterious sects, a peerless genius on the heavenly profound ranking and earth ranking. He was extraordinary, extremely extraordinary, and his status in the three supreme mysterious sects even surpassed ordinary elders. Zhangsun Yaoyang had been killed by Su Fang on the blood slaughter arena, yet the first elder of the three supreme mysterious sects had actually dispatched him, the #1 disciple. However, the first elder of the three supreme mysterious sects had no other choice. Su Fang was a genius ranked on the heavenly profound ranking. Even though he was only a genius ranked on the lowest yellow ranking, it restricted the experts of the three supreme mysterious sects that surpassed the Daolord realm from making a move against Su Fang. If the disciple they dispatched was too weak, then it would be equivalent to giving his life away for nothing. Su Fang could even kill a peak Daolord, let alone an ordinary disciple of the three supreme mysterious sects. Thus, the first elder had dispatched Gu Tianqi, the #1 disciple, to take action, and this obviously displayed how highly he attached to Su Fang. "I should deal with Su Fang as soon as possible so that I can give the first elder an explanation. My time is precious, so how could I waste my time on such trivial matters?" Gu Tianqi smiled casually, and then he activated the Heaven Search Mirror. Su Fang controlled the flame cloud chariot to travel through space. Suddenly, the ancestral dragon's voice resounded from within the Skyearth avatar. "Little kid Su Fang, let this ancestral dragon out for some fresh air." The ancestral dragon was wild and unrestrained by nature, and he liked to be unrestrained. So, he'd stayed within the Skyearth avatar for a long time, so he naturally wanted to come out and relax. Su Fang chuckled and released the ancestral dragon from within the avatar. The ancestral dragon had transformed into his true form, and his figure was much smaller than when he was in Pongsong Universe. He was only around 3 kilometers tall, but he was still extremely awe-inspiring and domineering. After that, the ancestral dragon carried Su Fang and Master Jackdaw on his back as he traveled freely through space, and he was extremely delighted. At this moment, there were very few dangers that could threaten Su Fang within the heaven-forsaken region. So, it was a rare opportunity for the ancestral dragon to relax, and Su Fang allowed him to do as he pleased. They encountered quite a few bandits along the way, and a few of them even tried to suppress the ancestral dragon. Before Su Fang could say anything, Master Jackdaw took the initiative and easily killed them all. They'd also encountered many natural dangers, but Master Jackdaw had taken the initiative to resolve them all. Around 50 years later, they weren't far from ancient Azure City. Suddenly, QL-11, a blood-colored vine surged out of a seemingly tranquil region of space. Like an octopus tentacle, it caught the ancestral dragon by surprise and wrapped around his waist. The blood-colored vine furiously devoured the ancestral dragon's vitality and blood, and even dragged him into the void. Su Fangda, be careful. It's the Skyrth blood vine. Master Jackdaw warned Su Fang as he released his thoughts, which transformed into sharp black blades. Gusts of frigid wind swept through the air and sliced apart the blood-colored vine as thick as a water bucket. The blood-colored vine was incomparably tough. Even with Master Jackdaw's strength as a peak upper-human overlord, he was barely able to cut it apart. Moreover, the blood-colored vine's blood was laced with deadly poison. When it landed in the void, it corroded small black holes in space, which continued to sizzle and spread into the surroundings. The ancestral dragon suffered quite a bit as well. His body was corroded by the blood-colored vine, and large patches of blood and scales fell off his body. Su Fang hurriedly sucked the ancestral dragon into his Xian Wang avatar's dimension and tried to help him absorb the poison. Su Fang had plundered Starkiller City, the second largest city in Blood Valley. He could be considered a tycoon now, so he naturally had no shortage of high-grade antidotes on him. However, Su Fang didn't give the ancestral dragon any pills. Instead, he had Gue Gue enter the ancestral dragon's body to absorb the poison. Su Fang had fed Gue Gue blood all the way from the Tsang universe to the eastern profound divine realm, urging it to grow. Gue Gue was a monster born from fresh blood, so it didn't have any cultivation bottleneck. It only needed to continuously devour blood, poison, and other spiritual objects that contained energy to grow rapidly. Poison was the most effective. As Su Fang possessed many extraordinary abilities, Gue Gue rarely had the chance to display its strength. This time, it came in handy. Su Fang waved his hand and pulled the blood-colored vine that Master Jackdaw had severed to his side. This is the sky-piercing blood vine? That's right. It's an evil creature cultivated by the other tribes. It specializes in devouring the vitality and blood of cultivators, big goblin, and other life forms. The poison it uses can corrode not only the physical body and avatar, but also the mind. It's that powerful. This sky-piercing blood vine isn't the most powerful. When the other tribes invaded Dongxian in the past, a foreign expert released a sky-piercing blood vine to seal off the space and time of a mystic realm. In the end, it devoured all life in the mystic realm. The other tribes' methods aren't just evil, they're endless. Why would a foreign race's sky-piercing blood vine appear here? Foreign experts often sneak into human territory and use human cultivators as nutrients to cultivate sky-piercing blood vines. Sir, leave quickly. There must be a foreign expert hiding here. With your strength, you don't have to be afraid, but you'll be in big trouble. Just as Su Fang and Master Jackdaw were about to leave, another dozen or so blood-red vines appeared out of thin air, waving wildly in the air. Like a gigantic tentacled monster, they swept towards the two of them. You're courting death. Master Jackdaw revealed the loftiness of a peak Dao overlord. Despite his cautious demeanor in front of Su Fang, he was still the overlord of the Forsaken Heaven region. How could his strength be underestimated? His numerous thoughts flashed through his mind and condensed into numerous black feathers. After that, they fused together and transformed into an enormous black crow-like monster that was over 300 m long. It emitted an unpleasant and ear-piercing cry that shook the vines to the point they trembled violently. Whoosh! Jackdaw's wings flapped repeatedly, releasing an eerie chill that froze the void. His blood gushed out of his eyes, corroding Master Jackdaw's aura layer by layer. The blood-colored vines regained their freedom and swept towards Su Fong and Master Jackdaw. Su Fong's eyes flickered with the light of divination. They changed unpredictably, as if they could see through all mysteries. Next, he reached out and grasped at the air with his sword, condensing it into a flying sword formed by a formation made entirely of slaughter energy. The flying sword shot out and disappeared into the void. Cries like that of an infant's rang out from the void. The blood-colored vines writhed wildly, clearly in great pain. After struggling for a while, the blood-colored vines stopped writhing. They floated in the air like lifeless objects. Su Fong had used the Blood Fiend body's ability to directly kill the sky-piercing blood vine's consciousness with his slaughter energy. "Sir, you truly are mighty. This humble one prostrates himself before you." Master Jackdaw seized the opportunity to flatter Su Fong. Chapter 2767. Su Fong sucked all of the sky-piercing blood vines into his Tao Palace. He was overjoyed. With so many vines to feed on, Gui Gui's strength would definitely increase significantly. "Su Fong Dao," Master Jackdaw reminded him. "Those vines are definitely ownerless. Let's hurry and leave. Otherwise we'll attract unnecessary trouble." But before he could finish speaking, a violent and evil intent emerged from the void. "How dare you kill my sky-piercing blood vines? I'll make you pay with your lives." Whoosh! A blood-red figure shot out from the void. When he looked over, Su Fong couldn't help but gasp. The figure was definitely not human. It was an alien. Although it had a humanoid form, it was completely different from normal humans. It was over 3 meters tall and looked like a skinned frog. Blood flowed all over its body, and its mouth was wide open, revealing sharp fangs. Its tongue flickered in and out of its mouth, and blood-like mucus flowed out of its mouth. It was a terrifying sight. It's one of the outsider ghost frogs. They're extremely skilled in using poison. Even I have a hard time dealing with them. Lord Su Fong, we have to leave." Master Jackdaw hurriedly sent Su Fong a message through divine will. He then released over 100 streaks of light, which transformed into numerous jackdaw crows. They charged at the monster, instantly freezing the surrounding space. "Let's go." Su Fong didn't want to fight this strange and evil creature. He immediately used the burning light escape art. Transforming into a streak of fiery light, he shot away. Master Jackdaw used a mental attack. Black feathers fluttered in the air, emitting waves of cold air that blocked the monster's path. Then, he followed Su Fong and fled. The ghost frog charged out of its shackles and madly chased after the two of them. The ghost frog's poison was extremely powerful, but its speed was mediocre. It didn't take long for it to lose track of Su Fong and Master Jackdaw. It was so angry that it roared madly in the void. Roughly 3 days later, a figure walked out of the void. It was Gu Tianqi, the number 1 disciple of the 3 sovereign profound sects. "Another damned human. I'll devour you." The ghost frog charged out of the void and opened its mouth to spit out a bloody mist, which instantly covered thousands of miles of the void. Sizzle! The terrifying poison corroded the surrounding void layer by layer, causing a large area of the void to collapse. It was about to swallow Gu Tianqi along with the void. "Outsiders!" Gu Tianqi raised his eyebrows and remained motionless. 3 thoughts flashed out from between his eyebrows. Boom! A thought released the will of a supreme ruler, as if it came from a supreme existence that ruled over all things. It suppressed and shackled the will of the ghost frog, and the bloody mist that covered the void also became weak. Then, another thought released the power of space, instantly sealing the ghost frog and the surrounding space. Not only did it stabilize the collapsing space, but even the ghost frog was shackled to the point where it could not move. Then, the last thought shrouded the ghost frog and erupted with the power of time. Chi! Chi! Time passed on the ghost frog at an astonishing speed that was countless times faster than the real world. Nothing could resist the corrosion of time, and this xenorace monster was no exception. The poisonous mist and blood on its body swiftly weakened while its vitality flowed madly. Only over 10 breaths of time had passed in the outer area, yet the ghost frog that was enveloped by the power of time had experienced countless years. Its vitality was exhausted, and it was on the verge of death. The three supreme mysterious sects had grasped the will of the heaven Tao, time, and space. However, no matter how supreme a grand Tao was, it depended on who was executing it. This attack executed by Gu Tianqi's thoughts had easily annihilated a xenorace ghost frog that even peak Tao lords feared. This obviously showed how shocking Gu Tianqi's strength was. Gu Tianqi suddenly stretched out his hand and grabbed. Pooh! A ball of Xian Guang broke out from the ghost frog's body and floated in front of Gu Tianqi. The ghost frog let out a cry. It let out a shrill cry of despair before perishing on the spot. Within the ball of Xian Guang was a ball of bloody things that wriggled incessantly and emanated waves of shocking vitality. It was actually the eggs of the ghost frog. So the reason why the ghost frog lurked in the human world was to capture human cultivators and use their vitality to breed its descendants. Xenoraces should all be killed. Gu Tianqi's calm gaze turned fierce. He waved his hand and was about to kill the ghost frog eggs. Then, he thought for a moment and absorbed the eggs into his body along with the Xian Guang. The ghost frog's strength wasn't limited to this. So it was to protect its descendants. Many human cultivators are even weaker than these xenorace monsters. I should keep these ghost frog eggs first. Who knows, they might come in handy in the future. Gu Tianqi's divine light swept through the surrounding void. His eyes surged with the changes of time and the phenomena of the past. Then Gu Tianqi smiled faintly. I'm about to catch up to Su Fang. After Su Fang and Master Jackdaw escaped from the ghost frog, they used their divine abilities to fly in the void for more than 10 days. Ancient Blue City wasn't far away. Similar to the other cities in the heaven-forsaken desolate region, Ancient Blue City was located in the center of a large area of floating ruins. The ruins stretched for hundreds of millions of miles. There was a huge natural barrier around it that formed a plane of space-time called the Desolate Mystic World. The Desolate Mystic World used to be an extremely prosperous mystic world. Later, the war between human cultivators and the xenorace destroyed the mystic world, causing it to rapidly decline. Most of the materials lost their vitality and became deathly still. Their spirit energy was almost depleted. Cultivators and other life forms couldn't survive. Only a very small number of materials still had faint spirit energy. Human cultivators built cities on them and lived there. Ancient Blue City was one of them. In the desolate mystic world, Ancient Blue City wasn't the most powerful force, but it was still a first-rate force. Su Fang recalled the information related to the Ancient Blue City in his mind, and a sharp aura surged in his heart. The purpose of this trip to the Ancient Blue City was to completely eliminate the Empyrean Pandsong and sever the karma between the two of them. QL 11-inch Master Jackdaw, you can go now. These pills are for you. Su Fang nodded to Master Jackdaw. Then, he took out a Xian Guang from his palm, which contained a storage ring. Master Jackdaw was both surprised and delighted. He'd thought he was doomed, so he'd done his best to show off. Who would have thought that not only would Su Fang let him go, but he'd also given him pills? How could he not be delighted? Master Jackdaw sent his consciousness into the storage ring and found 100 blood fiend pills. Although they were all 6-vein pills, they were all silver vein pills that had caused a huge commotion in the Blood Valley. Master Jackdaw didn't cultivate the blood fiend Dharma body, so these silver vein pills were useless to him. However, he knew how valuable these pills were. Every cultivator who entered the Blood Valley scrambled for them. Thank you, my lord. Master Jackdaw cupped his fists to Su Fang in thanks, his heart filled with gratitude. Su Fang waved his hand. Go back and discipline your son well. Otherwise, he'll bring you disaster sooner or later. Yes, yes, yes. I'll definitely lock that little bastard up in the boundless sea and make him reflect on his mistakes. Master Jackdaw nodded repeatedly. Su Fang nodded. Go. Master Jackdaw hesitated, then sent a message to Su Fang. Su Fangdao, be careful. When I was in Daolis City, I accidentally heard that not only the three highest profound sects, but also the East Profound Heavenly Pavilion and the Great Solar Limitless Sect, have all sent peerless experts to the heaven-forsaken desolate region. My lord, you're ranked on the Heavenly Profound ranking, and you're extraordinarily strong. No one in the Tao Lord realm can compare to you. However, these factions have all sorts of extraordinary methods and abilities to deal with you. Su Fangdao, be careful. Su Fang smiled calmly. I expected this. Thank you for the warning. Master Jackdaw's black robes rippled with black xian guang. Then, with a flash of black light, he disappeared without a trace. Su Fang traveled through the floating ruins. Along the way, he encountered many natural dangers, as well as ambushes from cultivators and foreign races. Su Fang dealt with all of them. Whoosh! Su Fang flew out of the chaotic airflow and landed on a piece of land. This piece of land was fairly rich in spiritual qi. As a result, there were cities built by cultivators on this land. There were also caves carved out by cultivators on the mountain. Su Fang had obtained information from the Chamber of Commerce. He'd created a profound gate formation in the city, through which one could directly travel to ancient Azure City. Su Fang flew towards the city. Suddenly buzz, buzz, buzz. An extremely ethereal sense swept past Su Fang, causing the Tao runes of the heavenly secret life shrinking technique to flash rapidly within the Jiuxuan Tao Palace. Fortunately, the aura didn't linger on Su Fang, so Su Fang didn't take it to heart. But who knew before the Tao runes had calmed down, even more mysterious Tao runes, as well as the Tao runes from the heavenly secret decipher, flashed wildly. Danger! Fatal danger was about to descend. The heavenly secret life shrinking technique and the heavenly secret decipher had the ability to predict the future and fate. It had allowed Su Fang to escape from death many times in the past, and it had never been wrong. He didn't expect that such an inconspicuous piece of land would actually contain fatal danger. Is it from the Eastern Profound Heavenly Pavilion, the three supreme profound sects, or the boundless Great Sun Tao? Su Fang's entire body instantly emitted an icy chill. However, his expression didn't change in the slightest. He was as calm as an ancient well, and his speed didn't decrease in the slightest. Just as he was about to cross the mountain ridge, his body suddenly burned with raging flames. He used the burning light escape technique, and his figure shot towards the outside of the land. As expected, you're cunning. No wonder even Dongxian Jun suffered greatly. However, since you've fallen into this seat's cage, how can I let you escape? A voice filled with murderous intent reverberated on the land. Then, black and white formation flags suddenly appeared out of thin air on the land, in the air, and in the surroundings. Whoosh! Whoosh! Chapter 2768. A formation. Such a shocking formation far surpassed the Grade 2 formation Su Fang had comprehended. Even Master Zuo was no match for it. This formation was like a world where yin and yang were in chaos. It distorted heaven and earth and annihilated everything. Its power was unfathomable. Master Zuo shouted from within the Xian Huang avatar. Master, be careful. This is the supreme formation of the Eastern Profound Heaven Pavilion, the inverted yin-yang formation. It's a Grade 7 formation that can break all formations. Experts who have surpassed the Daolord realm will be killed by it. Inverted yin-yang formation? A Grade 7 formation? Su Fang's heart sank. Only formation masters above Grade 7 were qualified to be called formation masters. Such formation masters were very rare in the Eastern Profound Divine Realm. the might of a grade 7 array formation, and one that originated from the eastern profound heavenly pavilion, was naturally incomparably powerful. So it's an expert from the eastern profound heaven pavilion. The eastern profound heaven pavilion is the supreme transcendent power of the eastern profound divine realm. To use such a method to circumvent the restrictions of Jiuquan's heavenly laws in order to deal with me, Su Fang. Despicable. Not only had Su Fang defeated Dongxian Jun in the Blood Valley, but he had also killed the city lord of the Second Slaughter City, who had been sent by the Eastern Profound Heaven Pavilion to guard it. How could the Eastern Profound Heaven Pavilion leave the matter at that? Su Fang was listed on the Heavenly Profound ranking and was restricted by the Jiuquan's heavenly laws. Experts who had surpassed the Daolord realm could not attack Su Fang. The Eastern Profound Heaven Pavilion was also restricted by the Jiuquan's heavenly laws. Who would have thought that the experts of the Eastern Profound Heaven Pavilion would create such a shocking formation on the path that Su Fang had to pass through on his way to ancient Blue City? As long as it was not an expert who had surpassed the Daolord realm, the Jiuquan's heavenly laws would not be affected. This was also something that the Western Profound Daozu had warned Su Fang. The terrifying power of the inverted yin-yang formation surged from all directions in the world. It distorted time and space, disrupted the laws and energy, and swept toward Su Fang. Blood evil Dharma body, slaughter sword formation. Su Fang quickly merged the blood evil battle form with his physical body. The slaughter mark on the blood armor released a monstrous murderous aura, which turned into streaks of sword chi that intertwined into a shocking sword formation. It collided with the oncoming divine might of the disorder of yin and yang. Boom! Boom! In the collision, the sword formation broke down layer by layer and finally collapsed. In the face of the terrifying power of the level 7 formation, Su Fang's blood evil Dharma body also appeared extremely fragile. Xian Yang Dharma body, heavenly Dharma body. Su Fang immediately released his celestial Yang Dharma body and heavenly Dharma body. The Xian Yang Dharma body released 9 thought. The Xian Yang Taoist rhyme, aura, mana, and Su Fang's will condensed into 9 divine suns that revolved around the Su Fang. At the same time, the heavenly path Dharma body also released the world tree. The power of yin and yang in Taoist rhymes combined with the 9 suns to form a yin-yang domain that released the divine power of the defensive array formation. Time and time again, the impact caused huge explosions. Su Fang's domain shattered layer by layer amidst the vibrations. The power of the 2 Dharma bodies also seemed to be unable to maintain it for long. A figure floated out of the array formation. It was a middle-aged man wearing a simple gray Taoist robe. He had a kind and amiable look. However, this person's aura was very illusory and also very strange. It constantly changed, giving Su Fang the feeling that his body was constantly changing between black and white, cold and hot, movement and so on. Not only was this person proficient in the Tao of Yin and Yang, but he was also a peerless expert that surpassed the Taoist master. In terms of cultivation, he was even more powerful than Grandma Heartless and the Taoist sect master. The middle-aged man looked down at Su Fang, and a lofty aura rose spontaneously. Su Fang, you're trapped in the Eastern mysterious heavenly pavilion's inverted yin-yang formation. A mere cultivator below the Tao Lord realm like you is like a sparrow or a fly that has fallen into a net. Any resistance is meaningless. Surrender. Su Fang stared at the middle-aged man. Who are you? The middle-aged man nodded and said, I'm a subordinate of the supreme holiness of spring and autumn. I've made some small achievements in the Tao of Yin and Yang of the Eastern mysterious heavenly pavilion, so people call me Mr. E. That supreme holiness of spring and autumn must be the heaven pavilion expert that secretly controls Star Slaughter City in the Blood Valley? That's right. Heaven Pavilion experts also need all kinds of resources to maintain their forces. Apart from the number 1 Star Slaughter City in the Blood Valley, All the other star slaughter cities are secretly supported by Heaven Pavilion experts and reap huge profits from them. You killed the city lord and stole his treasures. You've infuriated the supreme holiness of spring and autumn. Once an expert is angry, you can only be reduced to dust. Heaven Pavilion experts were also humans. They also needed to cultivate and nurture their own families and forces. Naturally, they needed an astonishing amount of resources. The Eastern mysterious Heavenly Pavilion experts secretly controlled Star Slaughter City in the Blood Valley and reaped huge profits and resources from it. Su Fang not only killed the city lord, but also plundered all the treasures and resources in the city lord's mansion. How could the Heaven Pavilion experts let him go? So that's how it is. You're a peerless expert who has surpassed the Tao Lord. Aren't you afraid of being suppressed by the Jiuxuan's heavenly laws when you attack me? Haha, a genius on the heavenly Xian ranking is naturally extremely noble in the eyes of ordinary cultivators. However, in the eyes of Heaven Pavilion, you're nothing. Moreover, you're just an unrated genius on the yellow ranking, the lowest level of the heavenly Xian ranking. Heaven Pavilion has too many ways to kill you. Mr. E chuckled and snorted at Su Fang. If you want to kill me, Su Fang, do you think I'll let you do as you wish? Su Fang's eyes were filled with determination and unyielding. He released his Xian Wang Dharma body again. After fusing the power of more than 1,000 cultivators, Su Fang executed the 6 manifestations returning swords and released a shocking sword formation. Together with his Xian Yang, Tian Dao, and Shui Sha avatars, he launched a counterattack against the inverting yin-yang formation's might. Su Fang had unleashed his strongest strength, which could crush a peak Tao Lord expert. He could be said to be invincible among the Tao Lord realm. However, the inverting yin-yang formation was truly shocking. Moreover, it was driven by the formation flags, so its attacks were endless. Su Fang could not shake it at all even when he unleashed his full strength. I'll try using my nascent spirit Dharma body and see if I can break the formation with a formation. Su Fang was about to release his nascent spirit Dharma body. At this moment, Shi Xian Daozu suddenly spoke from within the Jiuxuan Dao Palace. The inverting yin-yang formation is a supreme formation personally created by old ancestor Dongxian. Although this formation can't even unleash a 10,000th of its power, it's definitely not something you can break now. Even Shi Xian Daozu attached great importance to the inverting yin-yang formation, so it was obvious that this formation was truly extraordinary. Then, Shi Xian Daozu spoke something that both surprised and delighted Su Fang. You've advanced to Tao Lord realm not long ago. According to my promise, I should give you the rewards you deserve. There are some life-saving treasures among the rewards this time. Take a look. As soon as he finished speaking, Su Fang sensed a storage ring appear out of thin air within the chaos region of the Jiuxuan Dao Palace. This storage ring was the one that Daozu had used a supreme ability to connect with space and teleport him from the Western Mystic Divine Domain. There were multiple dimensions within the storage ring. In the past, Su Fang could only enter the first dimension. This time, his nascent spirit entered the second dimension with ease. QL11 Su Fang discovered that there were 1,000 different types of pills. However, they weren't the peak mid-rank pills from the first dimension, but peak high-rank pills. Moreover, they were all refined using an ancient pill refinement method that had been lost for a long time, and their medicinal energy was incomparably pure. Pills of this quality were even useful for the cultivation of peerless experts who surpassed Tao Lord. In the Eastern Mystic Divine Domain, they could be called priceless treasures. Just like last time, the types of pills were different as well, as if they were tailor-made for Su Fang. In addition to the pills, there were also 3 runes. They were actually very ordinary teleportation talismans. However, even the most ordinary items given out by the Western Mystic Tao Lord were extraordinary. A single rune of these teleportation talismans could allow one to instantly move billions of kilometers through space and easily break through all kinds of shackles. Su Fang was overjoyed to receive the rewards from Shi Xian Daozu. You deserve all of this. Compared to your previous performance, it is nothing. Masters in-name disciples in Shi Xian, as long as they work hard, will also receive the same rewards as you. Continue to work hard, Su Fang. You can only rely on yourself. Master can only provide you so much. I will not provide you with wings. That would be detrimental to your growth. Shi Xian Daozu's voice gradually faded into the distance and then disappeared without a trace. Su Fang's spirits rose when he received Shi Xian Daozu's treasures. However, Su Fang did not plan on using the teleportation talisman to charge out of the inverting yin-yang formation. Unless he had no other choice, how could Su Fang easily waste such a valuable treasure? Also, Su Fang still had trump cards that he had not used. How could he easily use Shi Xian Daozu's treasures? Come back. Su Fang's mind moved and all of his avatars returned to the Jiuxuan Daolord Palace. Mr. Ida smiled proudly and said, "Surrendering is the wisest decision." Surrendering? Su Fang smiled domineeringly. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Dozens of thoughts flashed out from Su Fang's forehead and turned into 6 powerful divine auras that exploded. It turned out that Su Fang had released the 6 extreme Dao Saints' thoughts and merged with the 6 extreme Dao Saints' will to unleash a powerful attack that surpassed that of a Dao Lord. Su Fang's strength had increased tremendously. The power of the combined 6 extreme Dao Saints' thoughts and will was even stronger than before. Boom, boom, boom. The inverting yin-yang formation space started to shatter layer by layer under the powerful attacks of the 6 extreme Dao Saint. However, the other experts from Heaven Pavilion kept on activating the array flags and stabilizing the formation. Mr. Ida did not make a move. If he personally controlled the formation, he would definitely be punished by the heavens. The powerful divine aura of the 6 extreme Dao Saints' thoughts shocked Mr. Ida at first, but then he scoffed. This is probably the strength of the 6 extreme Dao Saints' avatar? Since Heaven Pavilion wants to suppress you, they have already investigated your background. If the 6 extreme Dao Saint had been revived or if you had the strength to fully control the 6 extreme Dao Saints' avatar, I would have left immediately. But now... Haha, Su Fang, stop your pointless resistance. Is that so?